Welcome back, everyone. Welcome back to another week, another edition here of the PondCast episode 85, your weekly dose of all things StarCraft. I'm, of course, your host, VIP. With you, I'm joined by Kuro handling the production, and of course, by the lovely people in the chat as well. Welcome, one and all, to your weekly wrap-up show, weekly show of all things StarCraft. Again, there's a lot to get into, there's a lot to go over in regards to StarCraft news and StarCraft adjacent news as well. Let's jump on in. Let's jump on in here. Of course, we just wrapped up this morning with our GSL coverage, or GSL CK. Now we're here with our second broadcast of the day, and there's a lot to discuss, a lot to go over. First things first, we actually did have an interview with Reynor. Big shout out to Pig. This interview was actually held after LiuLi Cup, which we'll be discussing the results of. But LiuLi Cup, the 2025 Grand Finals, was not too long ago, and Pig was casting the event live. And of course, he did end up having some interviews with some of the players after the fact as well. So just for some greater context, because during this interview, they do actually start discussing certain matches. They don't specifically kind of like say where the games took place or what tournament they're speaking on. Just for some greater context, they are speaking on LiuLi Cup, and they were talking and discussing some of the quarterfinals, semis, and grand final matches as well. But it was really cool to hear. It was really cool to hear Pig bring Reynor on and get his thoughts regarding the certain matchups, regarding the current state of StarCraft as well. And it was really interesting. It was really interesting to hear. For the most part, it's like just kind of validates kind of what has been, what we've been observing and seeing and casting, and kind of allowing for the meta to settle, the meta to continue. And we have a little bit more confirmation as of that. Reynor, he was discussing how ZVT, ZVP, I mean, all the matchups have changed over time, of course, and how the meta has changed into a certain way, which he's struggling a little bit more with. I think one thing that they touch on, especially if you did watch the LiuLi Cup, was the defensive play of TVZ that has been rising in prominence, and we'll see if that trend continues. That's still a recent thing, but if you, say, for example, didn't watch Mara versus Reynor or Mara versus Serral throughout the course of LiuLi Cup, we saw some hyper defensive play at Amaru. Hyper defensive. He was kind of going back to what he would do a couple of years ago, where he would just wall up, turtle up, and just set up with, 6, 7 planetaries, sensor towers, missile turrets, so get a siege line, get into mech ghosts, and everyone from there. And, I mean, spoilers, we'll be getting to the results of that tournament momentarily, but, I mean, Maru did in a winning set event and took down both Reynor and Serral in the process. But that was a recent change, and no other players playing quite like that. Clem, Bjorn, Cure, the other top 10 players aren't embracing that style. Currently, it's just a Maru thing. And I would also say that one of the reasons why I feel like Reynor and Serral struggled against it is because they haven't played against Maru in quite some time, and they haven't played against that style in quite some time either. So it's something that kind of caught them off guard and caught them unawares, and we'll see how they adapt over time. But specifically when it comes to the title of said video, Reynor talking about how his style was nerfed in StarCraft II. That's mainly in reference to ZVP. ZVP has become a lot more tame, has become a lot more passive in the early to mid game. Protoss players have been improving quite heavily when it comes to the defensive play, especially with the latest Storm, and they were kind of discussing how the ZVP matchup has changed and how it's become a bit of a slower matchup as a result of that. Style of play that Reynor is not very good at and not very fond of, and it's just it's not something that he enjoys playing, I should say. That's something that he does enjoy, just because harassment options and aggressive options are much more limited when it comes to ZVP, which we can of course confirm based on the matches we've been able to cover over the past 3 to 4 months, ever since the latest patch, ever since the latest map pool. Pig, he kind of like broadens some of the discussion out when it comes to ideas for maps, because of course the TLMC is right around the corner. Ideas for maps alongside ideas for patch changes as well, when it comes to future balance changes and future kind of adjustments that can be made. It was kind of like fishing for ideas or what he can start to push, or how he can kind of bring the attention of certain things to the forefront of the community's mind, so then that can kind of get a little bit more publicity. Something that we did appreciate was that Reynor, he did his best to I wouldn't say unbiased, but to recognize his biases. I think he was being asked like a specific question about how, like, oh, what about like having more open like fourth base locations and having more exposed and spread out bases themselves between the third, fourth and fifth. And Reynor was like, yeah, that'd just be unplayable for Protoss. Like Reynor, he was like very frank and very open about about certain things maybe going too far and how you wouldn't want to do that for the balance of the other matchups and the other races, and how you have to tone that back. But what I do appreciate is that I mean, I would have said that this map pool was the best map pool we've had in a while, and they kind of like echo those sentiments as well, which I appreciate. Like we worked hard on the map pool, we and look forward to the next one as well. But yeah, it's been great to see the variety when it comes to the map pool itself, and having it be a little bit more accessible and be more aggressive, and not as be leaning in favor of like defensive turtley play. I think that was that hit like the worst in the past two map pools. We saw some very defensive and turtley maps, and we saw all that come to fruition as well. But yeah, it's an interesting discussion that was had with Reynor and with Pig. Likewise, again, they kind of pose certain questions, and how they want the direction of the game to go and things of that nature. And hopefully, things will look a little bit better moving forward, at least when it comes to that perspective, I should say, of making the game a little bit more accessible. I know that Pig, he's very much so harping on the bandwagon of changing the worker start count. So there was a bit of a discussion on that. I know that's been a hot topic for years at this point, when it comes to opening up the early to mid game and allowing for more variety as well. It's definitely something that it feels like people have been discussing a lot more in recent years. I know that Pig, he started making like a bunch of like show matches and different worker start show matches. I think that was last year, maybe the year before that, the years that kind of blend together. And he was trying to showcase like whether or not that would be a good thing, with limited data, of course, just because there are so few players that are playing like that and playing on that mod when it comes to changing the worker start time. But I know that's something that Pig has been pushing for quite some time. It's an interesting kind of change, and I still don't think I feel quite strongly about it myself, one way or the other. I understand the reason for changing it, but I think taking a step back and looking at the greater perspective of things, like the fact that the early to mid game has kind of been stripped away when it comes to the possibilities of different builds, and kind of skipping into the mid game and skipping into like 3-base saturation for the most part of every game, did take away a lot from StarCraft. And I think I would be in line with at least like mixing things up and seeing how things go if that were to change. It's a big change though, is the thing. Like it's I don't know if that's something that we can necessarily ask for with like a future patch. But regardless, it was a good conversation to be had. I do recommend it tuning in, and personally, I do hope that Pig does more of this. Pig, he doesn't often do a lot of live casting. It's quite rare, actually, that he does much live casting. But whenever he does, I do hope that because he is a little bit closer with the players, that he's able to bring people like Clemon, people like Reynor, people like Showtime, people like Serral, just to have a bit of a conversation, and just to kind of like, pick their thoughts on certain things, and yeah, just kind of give them a platform as well, just because a lot of these guys, they don't necessarily stream themselves or create their own videos, and it's always nice to kind of hear from their perspective every now and then. So yeah, do recommend it. Do recommend checking it out. Again, it's an hour-long video, so yeah, plenty of content there, plenty to hear from when it comes to Pig and Reynor. Heading on over here, we do have, I guess, adjacent to talking about the TLMC and the map pool, we did actually have a big conversation regarding the latest map statistics regarding the Team Liquid map contest. The post itself was done in a really odd way, is what I will say. Like, there's like some weird, like, conspiracy theorist like ideology talking about how like Wax must have like pushed an agenda to kind of have certain maps come to popularity. Basically, I think the post on Reddit was more talking about map statistics and the TLMC voting, and who had higher voting than other, and kind of how Mothership is a really unpopular map despite it coming first in TLMC. But in my mind, that makes perfect sense. Mothership was the only 3-player spawn map available to be voted on. Same thing happened last season, by the way, with Last Fantasy. Like, same thing. Last Fantasy won, Mothership won, they were the only 3-player spawn maps. That's a little bit on us for not allowing for multiple spawn maps make it into the top 16, for multiple options. But I think it just goes to show, like, the consensus amongst the community that we want more variety. We want the return of these 3-player spawn maps. Unfortunately, every time for the last 2 TLMCs, there's only ever been one option for that, but that's what we want, at least when it comes to competitive play. People don't enjoy playing on them, sure, but it's not so much about that. It's more about like the pro scene and seeing the pro players kind of tackle that kind of change and adjustment, and that difference in StarCraft. So yeah, it was an odd conversation that kind of gained traction, but yeah, I do kind of solely kind of fall behind the idea that like this is just what people want to see. It's the variety that they want, even if they don't necessarily want to play on it. And again, the big downside of the TLMC is that we've only ever had one option for that third player small map. I will do my best to try to push for more of that, right? For multiple 3-player small maps, so then we can have some variety, we can have some options, and we can kind of have a more refined kind of map pool coming into the next TLMC. I would hope that we could achieve that. I would hope so. But yeah, that was that conversation. Meanwhile, a big shout out to Luis GGG in the chat. God, thanks so much. Thank you so much for the raid. Thank you so much. We do appreciate the support. The raid of 29. Hope you had a great stream. Hope you had a great ladder session. Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Pappy. Do appreciate it. Up next, we did have news about another masterclass including Serral. If you recall, it was, I believe, last week where we were speaking on a or even 2 weeks ago, we were speaking on a masterclass held by Reynor, Ladder Legends. They've been, of course, offering their coaching services with their coaches as well, offering the ability to be able to improve at the game and to have like analysis, replay analysis, and things of that nature, and having critique of your own gameplay to get better at StarCraft. And they recently did host another masterclass. They had one with Reynor, now they're having one with Serral as well. And again, this is going to be on the 28th of March at the end of the month, so this will be coming up in the future, and I would imagine we're going to be having more of these to come as well. As they did mention that this is the second one of March. They already had Reynor's masterclass earlier, and I would imagine they're going to be trying to bring on players like Clem, players like Showtime, these other top Terran, Protoss, and Zerg players in future months for these kind of masterclass sessions. It's really cool to see. As we mentioned previously, this is not the first time that we've had masterclasses in the past with other services, or even just for free as well. We spoke about how this used to happen in the StarCraft, in the All Things StarCraft Zerg Discord server, where Reynor and Laser and some of the other top Zerg players would jump in and would actually have these like coaching sessions or these like big discussions with the rest of like the Zerg community, like talking about matchups and builds and kind of the approach to the game as well. So it's really cool to see that this is happening again, like in a much more, I guess, official kind of fashion here with Ladder Legends as they promote their platform, but also provide, again, a platform for a player like Serral to kind of impart some wisdom when it comes to improving at StarCraft. It's really cool to see. And again, that's going to be on the 28th of March. 28th of March, Serral's Masterclass. Up next, we did have a bit of somber news here with Team Vitality. Again, this was always on the card, always on the table. I do still remember discussing the possibility of this happening. This would have been when EWC was announced to be concluding. I remember I was posing the idea of Team Vitality also kind of letting go of their roster. I recall Kuro stepping up and being like, oh, but they signed Maru for like 3 years or something. I was like, they could have a clause in that contract to kind of terminate if EWC isn't around. Like, from my understanding, like EWC was a big part of that. Despite that, we were hopeful just because there were a lot of, there was like a lot of content and like extra things being done with the team. It did feel like at Team Vitality, they were actually giving some attention to their roster, and that is true, they were. But despite that, of course, EWC is still a big reason as to why some of these big teams have StarCraft, and they announced that they, of course, are going to be parting ways with their StarCraft II roster, which is a shame, bearing in mind that the players that were on Team Vitality, they're still going to be supported by Onside. They were originally on Onside, referring to Zaun, Ryung, and Crank, and technically it was, and Maru. Technically, it was not Zaun and Solar back then for Onside. But regardless, Onside, they were kind of like working in a partnership with Team Vitality. Onside will still support these players, but Team Vitality will no longer be a part of the StarCraft II scene, which is a bit of a shame here. It is a shame just because Team Vitality, they did provide a lot for these players and did provide a lot for StarCraft. There were even some extra like tweets being made regarding some of the other members of Team Vitality and talking about the time that they had with some of the other members, with Crank as well. I believe they had a Tekken Pro player that also was quite close with the Korean roster, the StarCraft II roster, because it's also from South Korea as well. So it's really cool that they had that kind of bond. It is a shame though that is kind of coming to an end here. is a shame, but at least, you know, they're still being supported by Onside. True. At least Onside, they're still supporting them. There's also a bit of a silver lining here as well, and that is that both Rex and Christiana, they were part of Offside Esports, if you recall, which was kind of like their B team. But now that Team Vitality has stepped away, now both Rex and Christiana are joining Onside. So now it's becoming just one big team instead, with Maru, with Ryung, with Crank, with Zaun, of course, and with Rex and Christiana. So they've since left Offside and joined Onside. Everyone's Onside, but true. So there is at least that's been going on, and I believe that also might come into play when it comes to Wardy's team league. I guess we'll get into that when it comes to their rosters and when it comes to their players, but that is going to be a little bit more available to them as well when it comes to expanding their roster. Up next, we did have the Blizzard Cup reveal. We, if you recall, did call that the silhouette did look like Nick and Dan, Artosis and Tasteless, and now we have confirmation. It is going to be Artosis and Tasteless as the two captains for the Blizzard Classic Cup. Once again, just to kind of reiterate, the Blizzard Classic Cup is going to be a big esport event happening at BlizzCon this year. That's going to be in September. Bear that in mind. And both Tasteless and Artosis are going to be drafting teams to compete in four different Blizzard esports titles. So it's going to be StarCraft Remastered, StarCraft II, it's going to be Heroes of the Storm, and Warcraft 3 Reforged. So there's four titles are going to be showcased in a bit of a triathlon kind of esports event. And again, it's a little bit less serious, obviously. Like, it's not meant to be like an end of year finals. It never was meant to be. When it comes to BlizzCon and when it comes to StarCraft at BlizzCon, that was not meant to be the case post COVID, if you recall, like post 2020. It was always meant to be more show matches. And yeah, it's going to be an interesting one. Personally, I was hoping that they would have captains from multiple esports. I was hoping there'd be like one for StarCraft and like one for Warcraft 3 and one for like Heroes of the Storm when it comes to the captains, and you'd have like these big entities like, I don't know, like Grubby, for example, or Kaldor, or Kalaris, or some of these other like bigger names representing kind of each of those different esports, and they'll have their own teams. But instead it feels like they're scaling it down a little bit, because it sounds like there's only two teams. Like, there's the Tasteless team and the Artosis team. They're not going to have multiple other kind of captains, so it's going to be like a 1v1 in that sense. I was hoping that it'd be a little bit more expanded, and there'd be like at least like four captains-ish, like one for each title essentially, but it looks like that won't be the case as far as we can tell. Like, obviously, you know, the Blizzard Cup is still all the way in September, so it's still a ways away. They might still adjust the format and announce some other people getting involved, but for the time being, it is going to be Tasteless and Artosis kind of drafting their own respective teams and competing in the Blizzard Cup. So I do look forward to it. Again, that's going to be in September. That's going to be at BlizzCon. Meanwhile, that leads us into the massive bit of news here, and there's so much to discuss, and that's in regards to the StarCraft Tabletop Miniatures Game. So much did happen over the past week. First things first, of course, is the official trailer came out. So the official trailer did come out, and pre-orders are now available. Pre-orders, pricings, the store is now live, of course, so you can pre-order and look to get into the StarCraft Miniatures Game. It's been a long time coming, a lot of iteration, a lot of Q&As, a lot of testing, a lot of beta testing, the app as well. A lot has gone into this, of course. We do appreciate how transparent Team Archon Studios has been in regards to the development of the game, just having non-stop Q&As month after month after month. Again, just kind of being very transparent when it comes to the process of working on the game, of testing the game, of iterating, of fine-tuning the balance, fine-tuning the numbers as well. They've been very, very transparent, and it's been great to see the kind of get a glimpse of the process that goes into creating something like this. And yeah, the official trailer did come out. The bundles are now out as well. There's a lot to get into, and also, if you want to get into it yourself, they did actually release their own official tutorial. Essentially, they're a how-to video talking through the step-by-step process of like the early rounds and kind of like how a back and forth would handle in the StarCraft Miniatures game, talking about the kind of the opening dice rolls, the opening cards that you start with, the veto process that there is, a quote-unquote veto process, deploying units as well. We spoke about this previously, but in a lot of other miniature war games, you initially deploy your army. Like, that's a big part of Warhammer, is that unironically, the like starting Warhammer takes like 30 minutes to like an hour, depending on how big your army is, because of the deployment phase, where you first have to deploy the entirety of your army onto the field, and you take turns. You roll dice, like you measure everything, and that's a whole process. StarCraft is faster paced. StarCraft, you don't deploy everything, you have everything in reserve, and you deploy turn by turn. Right, you have your quote unquote supply to work with. So every turn you have supply to work with to warp in or to drop in units, and you kind of act in that fashion instead. So they did explain that StarCraft is a lot more fast-paced as a turn-based miniatures game compared to something like a Warhammer or some of the other, what's the other one, Riftbound, I think, Riftbound, and some of the other like tabletop miniatures games. It's very different. It's a little more mobile, like a little more. There's a little more mobility in it, and again a little more fast-paced as well. So it's a very different kind of game, with of course, miniature elements, but has its own twist of things as well. Has its own twist. So it's really cool. We do appreciate that, of course, that they did release this, and I'm sure there are some other big YouTube channels out there that do specialize in wargaming that are going to be, that I believe even are getting their own their own sets, and they're going to be able to do their own testing and have their own kind of analysis and critique, and likewise their own tutorials when it comes to the meta and the game itself as well, as that is right around the corner. Again, pre-orders are currently available. We don't have access to the miniatures yet, but they're coming. It's right around the corner. Crazy, Bobby, crazy. When it comes to the miniatures game as well, there's still a lot more to get into. They did have their AMA pre-order launch. This was like less than a week ago. It was 5 days ago, and there was a lot that they kind of went over as well. I'm hoping that Kuro actually has some screenshots or can start to get into the initial beginnings of this. But a big thing that they showed, if you recall, was their roadmap. They unveiled their roadmap here for the next year of StarCraft, the next year of play, I should say, and it's going to be basically some big releases every 2 months. So when it comes to the pre-orders, they went live 2 days ago. They went live on March the 10th. Right now we're at March the 12th. So pre-orders went live, and shipping is going to be commencing around April. Like April is going to be when shipping is going to be happening, and then people are going to be receiving their sets of their pre-orders. When it comes to April, mid-April, 17th of April, they have slated to release a new set of units for each race. For Terran, it's going to be Goliath. Again, this is going to be the 17th of April. We have the Goliaths going to be released,
No, they already
Hydras,
out.
and Stalkers.
They are part of the pre-order. The end of the 17th of April is the end of the pre-orders, basically.
Okay,
so that's like the deadline of pre-orders. That's when the pre-orders end, unless they are running out of stock earlier.
Yeah, so we have the Goliath, Hydra, and Stalker, which were just released. The next set we do have June the 26th. That's going to be towards the end of June. That's going to be the second wave of units with Siege Tank, Ravager, Immortal, and Zeratul. If you recall, Zeratul was released previously as like a promotional model that was released last year, if you recall. This is going to be the base model of Zeratul. So basically, the model that they released last year is like an alternate exclusive art piece, like alternate exclusive model. Maybe that's a better way of putting it. Meanwhile, here is going to be like the vanilla model that they're going to be releasing. So it's going to be obviously the same unit, but a different stance, a different model itself. That's going to be Zeratul. Coming August 26th, we do have 2 months later, we do have the Spellcaster kind of release set, which is going to be the Raven, Defiler, High Templar, alongside a fresh set of hero units, which is going to be Nova, Zagara, and Tassadar. So that's going to be coming in August. Then 2 months after that, we do have the October set. That's going to be the fourth wave. Those are going to be the flying units that are going to be introduced. So we have the Banshee, the Mutalisk, and the Scout. And then coming into December, to be announced. I know that they put some things in there, like they put in like Firebat infested Marines and like Dragoons and stuff, but they did mention that like they just put whatever there, like it's just like a bit of a teaser. They still have yet to fully confirm what's going to be coming in December. To be announced. On top of that, outside of the release set of all these units, they explained that they plan on releasing, there's no set date yet, but around September-ish, for a single-player campaign. I say single-player, for a campaign set to be released. I shouldn't say single-player because you can, from my understanding, have multiple parties like progress through said campaign, but there's going to be like a campaign set that is going to be worked on as well, also around September-ish of the year. They also spoke about like 2v2 formats and like other team game formats as well when using the rule set and using the miniatures. They're also going to be working on those rule sets, moving forward as well. And there's like a lot to come. Like this is the roadmap for the year of 2026. And they also did emphasize that they have potential, especially when it comes to the success of this miniatures game. They have potentially like another 9 years of content ready to be released. Going through multiple units, going through different kind of unit sets as well, like primal Zerg and like hybrid units. And I mean, even without going to hybrid units, like going into like the Nova core or like the Nova units, going to like Reynor's Raiders, like there's like a lot to be explored there, and there's like a lot available, and they kind of like clarified that like now they've got plenty for like another 10 years, like unironically. So they kind of like confirmed all of that. Of course, that's if they're able to like continue to work on, and if the game itself is successful, like that's kind of what they have like planned ahead of them. So it's really interesting to hear. Likewise, they also kind of went through the unboxing process of the Stalker and of some of the other models that they were unveiling. Another thing that was really important is that they released a price tag. What I will say is that when it came to the AMA that they released 5 days ago, the price tag, they had the initial price set and the price tags. Some of those were lowered though, coming into the actual pre-order release date. They did kind of go over them, they got some feedback, and some of the price tags were lowered even further than that. So right now they're of course set in stone when it comes to the store, when it comes to the pre-orders and purchasing them at the moment. But there's a lot of bundles. There's like a lot of bundles. I kind of went over it. The bundles specifically do have discounts. There's like 20 or 30% discounts. And fun fact, because I actually ended up posting this on Reddit and just announcing it because it was like a day after the fact and no one had released it on Reddit. I was like, what the hell? So I started posting it, and there were some people that were like, wow, this is expensive. Like this is even more expensive than Warhammer. I looked into, I was like, that doesn't sound right at all. I looked into it, I checked the numbers, and this is like 50, if not like 60% cheaper than Warhammer. Like it's like I like compared like their starter sets, I compared like their base army bundles as well and their base sets. Like comparing this to Warhammer and comparing this to, like Riftbound and some of the other miniatures games, this is so much cheaper. It's actually crazy just how cheap this is in comparison. In saying that though, it is cheaper compared to Warhammer, it's cheaper compared to the other like miniatures games, that is true, but it is still a big investment, right? And that's how these kind of hobby games are. Whether it's like Magic the Gathering or Yu-Gi-Oh or Pokemon or tabletop miniatures games or board games, like at the end of the day, like these are all like big like income sinks. Like they do add up over time, and it's quite a big investment. So obviously there's a high barrier to entry getting into, whether it's building a deck in Magic or building an army here, and that's something to bear in mind. It's something that's of course going to be limited to people that have the disposable income to actually be willing to try this out. So of course it's not for everyone, 100%. It's not for everyone. And not just that, but it's also about the willingness to purchase this, and also having the time to and the willingness to like paint models. Or I mean, you can go full like Jeff in Control Robertson, and he would like just commission people painting the models like professionally. You could go that route as well if you want to go even further, and if you have that income to just have like people that know what they're doing actually paint them for you, just so you have like well-crafted figures to actually play with and actually showcase as well. So yeah, there's definitely a barrier to entry. It's definitely like a niche product. Not everyone is into like wargaming, not everyone's into miniatures, and I do think that people that aren't into this sort of thing look at the price tag and are like, oh, that's crazy. When again, like it's cheaper compared to the others, at least as well. Another thing to bear in mind, which I really did appreciate, they have all these bundles. There is specifically a collector's bundle, and what that is so they have these different bundles for like starter sets or core armies for like Protoss and Zerg and Terran. There is a specific collector's bundle, which is like one box of each unit sort of thing, which is like specifically for like, hey, if you're not really interested in playing the game, and if you only want to collect and paint and like just have them on display and things of that nature, then there is actually a bundle available for that as well. Because they even spoke about it, they were very vocal about it. They're like, hey, we understand that there are going to be a group of people, probably even a large group of people, that want these models just to have around, just because there's like sentimental value when it comes to like certain StarCraft units and certain StarCraft moments as well. And people aren't necessarily interested in playing the game, but just want to collect certain units and like certain models. So they do have like some collection bundles as well, which is a cheaper way of also just getting like a smaller amount of units, but solely for like display purposes. So that's also going to be available as well, or it is available, I should say. So it's really cool that they are accommodating for that sort of thing. They're also like very aware that that's going to be a thing as well, and they're taking the time to like to help give you like give you a better deal for that sort of thing, because they could just ignore that. They just sell their regular bundles and not really give too much mind to the people that want to only just collect, but they kind of went the extra mile and actually like set aside something for those people as well, which is really cool. I should also emphasize that like it's also maybe arguably a little bit necessary that they do these sorts of things, just because the reality is like the miniatures tabletop game is very like the scene is very dominated by Warhammer, so you need reasons to want to try something out, especially if you happen to already be ingrained in Warhammer, right? Like so like cheaper sets and like a different kind of games, different kind of rule set and different kind of pace of game as well. Like these are all things that make it a little bit different and a little bit more tempting and a little bit more accessible as well. Just because like there is already, of course, established games that already have their core player base, already heavily invested, spending like thousands, if not tens of thousands of dollars into those respective games. So like it can be hard to kind of break into that scene. And that's going to be a challenge as well, of course. That's going to be a challenge when it comes to breaking into the miniature scene and kind of carving out its own space. But I wish them the best. I do wish them the best. I do think there's definitely like an eager player base for it. I know that a lot of different communities and even a lot of different wargaming communities have been getting very excited for this and have been getting very hyped for it as well.
I feel like it's also important to point out that they did put a lot of attention to detail with the miniatures themselves. So like talking about the price tag again, that like you know, they're not the cheapest thing, but like they also like very well crafted, and like somebody did spend a lot of time on crafting these specific models.
Yeah, for sure. And that's something that like people can get into as well, right? It's like they just have that as like a hobbyist like painting thing as well when it comes to setting all that up. But yeah, so it's really cool that they kind of like put the care into all of this. And yeah, we do appreciate, or at least I appreciate, like the transparency that they had coming into this as well. When it comes to the next set of videos that they released, I think that was yesterday even as well. They kind of went into greater detail. I think they went into greater detail when it comes to comparing their price tags to other like miniatures games and other like war sets as well. But what I found very interesting was their beta app. What I loved about it, I don't know if you saw it, Kuro, but there's an application that they're working on online, of course, for the game with like rule sets. It
specifically looks like the main guy is working on the app, as he later has like a blog post with him and Coffee just working on the app.
Yeah.
It's pretty funny.
But what I loved about it was when he actually showed that there's going to be like a public like global calendar. There's going to be a global calendar where whenever there's going to be a big event, because they are going to be investing into competitions, right, into tournaments around the world for the miniatures game, and there's going to be like a global calendar where they're going to be, you know, putting in these they're going to be putting in the events, of course. And even if you happen to be like a local game store or local game shop, and if you happen to be hosting like, you know, like a Tuesday night like StarCraft like tournament or something like locally, like you're going to be able to add to that calendar as well. So then if you happen to be a player of said StarCraft miniatures game and you want to look for anything local around you that's actually of people competing and playing this game, you can find that, right? You can like search for it. You can find like, you know, search like Australia or the US of A or Germany, and you can like filter and you can like find if there's any games happening or when they're happening in your area. Like I love the idea of that global calendar, and it's really cool. It's really cool. It's not something that I've seen done before. I'm sure there are other like more third party like groups that do that sort of thing for like Warhammer and for some of these other games, but to have that be like officially like integrated into like the StarCraft Miniatures app, like sounds really cool. And I wish them the best when it comes to like curating it and like adding to it and having it be, you know, actually functional and useful. So I found that very fascinating for sure. Very fascinating. Oh. But yeah, they also kind of,
speaking of that app, I think it's important to point out that, as you said, like, you as an organizer of an event can add stuff to that calendar. Like, obviously they will have some moderation system, but it's not just that they will be adding events, but people can also add them themselves. But that's not just that. There's more like in terms of that content creation kind of thing, where they also have like basically map setups where you can like design a specific setup, you know, of like obstacles and like terrain, and you can save that and export that to other people.
Yeah. It's
Yeah.
I don't even know if I want to say ambitious, but there's a lot going on in the app,
Yeah.
and
And
it's
there's-
looking really cool.
Yeah, and it's not just terrain, it's not just maps. They also have like a campaign thing where like you can create your own campaign and like also share that with people. And there's like a whole tab of like, oh, here's community campaign. So they have like the entire setup for community content already there.
Yeah, it's really cool because, again, as I mentioned before, like that's one of those things where you would expect to happen third party, like for other games, but here for it all to be like integrated into like the main core like Archon Studio app. It's really nice. It's really nice. It's really convenient. Like it's very like beginner friendly as well. Like it's very accessible. Maybe is the better way of putting it. And I appreciate the work that they're putting into the app for sure. See, common. I think the interest would be in playing it. Kind of like, again, when it comes to, I'm gonna compare it to Warhammer because that's the thing to compare it to. When it comes to Warhammer, there is a massive group of people that are into Warhammer just for collection purposes, where they have like these big like display cases where like they have their units, they have their armies, and they have no intention of playing. Like infamously, even here in StarCraft, like Loker's been very public about it. Where Loker, he collects a lot of Warhammer, and he does not play Warhammer at all. He has no interest in playing, just collecting. And that's the easier thing to do. And we even got a lot of responses on the Reddit post saying that as well. Like, hey, like it seems like a little bit much to get into playing it, but I'm totally gonna buy like my favorite units and like just have them on like display and stuff and just have them available.
That is literally me because there's
Yeah.
very, very little chance that I will ever get to actually play the game, but I definitely want to have like a pack of like painted Zerglings somewhere on my shelf.
Yeah.
Like that's definitely like that kind of thing.
Yeah, for sure. Like I would say there's probably like obviously the way this is going to work is there's going to be a larger group of people that buy them for collection purposes, but where your main income source is going to be from is probably going to be like the consistent player base that are going to be there, that are going to be regularly like sinking into purchasing the entire army and also updating that army as months go on, as years go on, right? For sure. There's like two different like groups that are going to be, of course, supporting the game and investing into the game, of course. It's definitely going to be.
No, as I said, like the collectors will also kind of support it in the sense that like when they're releasing the new waves and new units, I think it's also important that together with each wave they're also releasing heroes. So it's not just like, oh, you get like a new unit set, but there are also heroes. So like if somebody like likes this specific hero, they will probably get it just for their shelf for the to showcase it.
Yeah, for sure. Fun fact: just before we went live, I was actually speaking to some friends about this that are into their own miniatures games, and because I myself I was always interested in Warhammer, but obviously the thing to stop someone from getting into Warhammer, stop me at least, was the price tag. It's insanely expensive getting into Warhammer and creating an army, but because this is so much more accessible, I reached out. I was like, no, yeah, I think I might get into this, and like I got like a response of like 4 or 5 different friends that are like, no, yeah, we already pre-ordered. Like we, it's like yo, if you want to like come together for some game night, we'll play. I was like, okay, let's go. Okay, let's go. We'll do it. So and these are people that like obviously used to play StarCraft back in the day, like play like in Wings of Liberty and Heart of the Swarm and things of that nature. They're aware of StarCraft. StarCraft as an IP, of course, has a little strength behind it, even if the player base isn't as there. But yeah, it's really cool to. I'm as a result, I'm probably gonna get into it. I'm probably gonna at least try. Get like the starter set, and we'll see how far we go. I'm gonna get the set. I'm gonna build it. I'm gonna try to paint. I'm gonna fail to paint and then never touch it again. We'll see though. We'll see. Aye. It's definitely like, I mean, it's something that at least piques my interest. I know it's not for everyone, 100%. It's not for everyone. It's a bit of a niche kind of like hobbyist game. Getting into miniatures, but definitely exciting and just exciting to see something done with the StarCraft IP, of course. Like we've gotten into that before. But regardless, best of luck, of course, to Archon Studios. Again, they seem to have a lot of passion and a lot of flair for StarCraft. So that's why they called Archon Studios. They've been working on miniatures games for many years, and finally they're able to work on their like ideal like dream game. They've been very vocal about that as well. Like
Yeah.
what they always wanted was to work on something StarCraft related, and they can't even believe that they get to do it. And they put like a lot of work, a lot of passion, a lot of effort into it, and it's like a passion project, but also like a real thing for them as well.
Yeah, I was gonna say that like it definitely seems like a bit of a passion project kind of thing, where like they genuinely are excited to work on this, and they put a lot of like thought into all these little details, because that's generally like how they started. Like their name comes from that, because they started from playing StarCraft together. Fun fact, they apparently are making like is it like child companies, whatever, they're like making like companies like in other countries to like make it easier for distribution. And I think the one in UK is now called the Dark Archon or something like that.
Yeah, they made jokes about that. Yeah.
They're having fun with it.
For sure. Yeah. I will say very quickly though is depending on where you are in the world, depending on where you are and what region you're in, they don't do shipping to certain places at the moment. I believe they don't do shipping to Russia, to Belarus, and currently they have issues when it comes to shipping to South America. They right now they can ship to Central America. That's fine.
They said
like
that like
Mexico
and is fine, but like South America has
and of course other Central American countries are fine as well. But right now they're having some like distribution issues when it comes to the rest of Latin America and South America specifically. But it's something they're actively working on. But currently, if you're in South America, then pre-orders won't be available to you, or you have to do it. You have to get them like a different routes. Like if you have a friend like in the Americas or in Central America, like have it sent there and then pick it up from there instead, or there are probably some workarounds to it, but at the moment there's no like official distribution to South America, which is a shame, just because we know that StarCraft definitely was huge in South America, or is huge in South America, so hopefully they're able to gain access to that kind of like that player base at some point.
I believe that they can find a way. Okay.
Yeah,
they are very resourceful people. But also,
sure.
speaking of shipping, they also did note they gave shipping costs, basically what will be for different regions, as well as confirm whether or not they are covering the taxes and the customs and all the other stuff, which are different for every country, and they do cover for quite a few of them.
Yeah. It's crazy. Specifically for Oceania, they kind of went over like shipping to Australia and New Zealand. Like they're covering the cost of the majority of that. I think shipping is only $20. It's very, very common whenever you ship, and because they're shipping from Europe, like they're manufacturing in Europe, they're not manufacturing in China. That's something that they also kind of like explained as well.
Yeah, like
and often like shipping.
No, I was gonna say they are manufacturing like on site in Poland, like where the headquarters are. Like that's their factory. Like it's literally just their thing.
And often shipping from Europe to Australia, New Zealand, it costs as much, if not more, than like the actual product. Like it's crazy, like how much shipping can be. Like it's like up to $100. So the fact that they cover a lot of that and they do like flat $20 shipping is insanely good, at least for our region, for like Oceania, and for other parts of the world as well. So yeah, do consider checking it out. To consider, and yeah, big news, pre-orders now available, and the main game will soon be accessible as well. Soon TM, baby, soon TM. Roadmap is out. As that leads us into tournament results. Here we go. It leads us into results here for the week. It leads us into LiuLi Cup. We did speak on this earlier when it comes to Reynor's interview, if you recall. We do have a LiuLi Cup 2025 Grand Finals. We already went over the group stage, but the playoffs did take place, and we did have the best of the best players competing, of course. We had Clem, we had Maru, we had Rogue, we had Serral, we had Reynor, Cure, and many others. When it comes to the main event here, we did have a strong showing out of Reynor. Reynor took down the Cure 3-0 to advance onto the semis. I would say the best series of the quarterfinals, and arguably the best series of the entire tournament, of the entire playoffs, specifically Mar versus Clem. Mar versus Clem, we finally got it. For those who don't know, for those who don't follow StarCraft, Mar and Clem has been something teased for years. They have not played ever since Clem switched to Preorders. It's been, what, 2 years? But they just have not played. They just do not meet in tournaments. It's been such a shame. If you remember, I think it was last year, Star Zagora, we were hyped to see them potentially face off, and then Maru announced that he wasn't going. He had some shoulder issues at the time, so he did not go to Star Zagora, so they did not play. Likewise, they were poised to like face off like in some of the other events, like EWC and some of the other tournaments, but once again, they just failed to ever meet until finally, here in LiuLi Cup, they face off in a big major tournament, and it was so damn close. I would say that Clem came the closest to beating Maru compared to Reynor and compared to Serral. Like, that was a very, very clutch series, and it went down to the wire as well. So I do highly recommend checking out that VOD. Again, Maru did take down Clem, and Maru had a breeze taking down both Reynor and Serral, again, in that TVZ matchup. We alluded to it previously when it comes to the interview that Reynor had, but if you watch those matches, Maru was hyper defensive. Every single game, he was just turtling up, getting planetaries, sensor towers, missile turrets, getting into mech, getting into biomech, getting into ghost mech, and just slowing the game to a crawl and stripping away the speed or the mechanical advantages that someone like Reynor especially would have. Serral did kind of meet Maru there a little bit better when it comes to switching and embracing Broodlord Infestor, because that's what you need when you go into the late game, specifically against that more turtley style. And Serral had a bit of a more back and forth and did threaten Maru a little bit more as well. But Maru, he still did excel and still did overwhelm. GG, well played. Once again, to just kind of emphasize some of these results as well, we were emphasizing that players like Clem, Cure, Beyond, they do not play like Maru. They're not as turtley, they're not as defensive. And Reynor and Serral, they expressed how they don't really have a lot of practice against this style. You don't practice against this unless you play against Maru, or unless you specifically ask some of the other Terrans to play in this way as well. And again, they're not as experienced as Maru is. So Maru, he was able to pop off, he was able to thrive, and able to claim the entire tournament 4-1 over Serral. Serral, his own run, was winding it down here. Serral took down Beyond 3-1, Rogue took down Trigger. Serral had a dominant showing versus Rogue in the semifinals. Then we had Reynor taking down Rogue in the third place match as well. So we had Maru in first, Serral in second, Reynor in third, and Rogue in fourth. So we did have our top four here facing off. I will say that we kind of, again, we had gone over the group stage previously, but something about the group stage, I would say a big upset was Hero and Classic. They failed to make it out of the groups. For Hero, it feels like he's like decompressing. Hero's won everything over the past 3 months. December, January, February. Hero, he's won so many premier tournaments in recent times, to the point where he's like the best player in the world. But here, as we wind down in February, coming into March, Hero, he did finally kind of like break, and he failed to make it out of the group stage. Hero was being very he was taking a lot of risks. I think that's the way that I would put it. He was taking a lot of chances, a lot of risks. Hero was getting caught out multiple times. Like Hero, he was overextending a lot as well. I still remember his series versus Beyond, where Hero, he would like get ahead, take a lead, and then like take a bad fight, overextend, stick around too long, and then kind of pay the price for it as well. So yeah, we saw a very overly aggressive Hero here, which does happen from time to time, but Hero did go down in the group stage. Likewise, Classic also did struggle in the groups as well. So seeing them both go down early here was a surprise to me, and this was potentially a sign of things to come, but we'll get into some of the other tournaments. I mean, they did perform better, of course, in Pigsty and in the WardiTV Championship as well. We'll get there. Speaking of, up next we have the WardiTV Winter Championship 2026, and that, as we were mentioning, again, Hero's been on fire as of late. Hero did slip up in LiuLi Cup, but remember, Hero, he won Rongi Cup, he won Thunderfire, he won the RSL Offline Championship. Like Hero, he won OSC Championship as well. He won 4 major. He's won everything over the past couple of months. Fumbled hard here in the LiuLi Cup, and then bam, he's back in the Wardi Winter Championship. As Hero, he takes down Clem 3-0. Big win there for Hero. Takes down Max 3-0 and takes down Max 4. Hero, he was crazy in this bracket. Sorry, what the hell? Oh my god, look at these results. I don't want to get ahead of myself here, but yeah, okay, so we already went through the group stage, but coming into the playoff bracket, Hero, he did drop some maps. He dropped 1 map to Nickracked, and he dropped 1 map to MaxPax in the finals, but that is it. Again, Hero, he was on fire here. So again, he struggled in LiuLi Cup, but that was the only time where Hero underperformed so far in the past 4 months, was in LiuLi Cup. But here, back to what he does best, winning these more big major events, even when these events include players like Clem, like MaxPax, like some of the other top players in the world. So GG, well played. Here he does claim the win here in the WardiTV Winter Championship. Some of the other big notable results here very quickly. MaxPax, he took down Spirit. Piotr has been very inactive as of late, so I always appreciate seeing Piotr. But MaxPax takes on Spirit 2-0, takes on Rogue 2-0, took down Cure 3-2, went all the way to the ace match. We have been seeing Cure look very threatening in TVP. We can discuss that a little bit more when it comes to the GSL CK that we did host and cast last night. But Cure, he has been looking very informed when it comes to TVP. Does fall to MaxPax, but hey, he made him work for it, for sure. did make him work for it. Scrolling on down here, we had Clem and Cure facing off in the lower bracket semifinal. Clem did take down Cure 3-1, and then Clem fell to Max 3-1. So Max taking down Clem in those lower bracket finals to eventually fall to Hero. GG, well played. So Hero is going to be the WardiTV Winter Championship, the Winter Champion even for 2026. Congratulations. Well played. Kind of back to where he has been over the past couple of months. It's been insane. Again, as we mentioned, we did see him dip down a little bit in the LiuLi Cup, and we'll be keeping an eye on him when it comes to the other big premier events that are also around the corner. Referring to Star Zagora, referring to RSL. Speaking of the segue, RSL. RSL Revival Season 4 did begin last week. We were, of course, covering the qualifiers here on this channel, but now we have the group stage underway. Coming into this, we have 4 groups. 4 groups are available. I believe we already went through the groups themselves, but now we have results. Now we have results coming in here. Group A, we had Hero, Zan, Reynor, and SOS. And here we had Hero coming out in first place, to be expected, but I would have assumed that it would have been Hero and Reynor. But no, Zan with the upset. Zan, he 2-0s Reynor in the first round, reminiscent of RSL Season 3, if you know, you know. Oh, sorry, even the RSL offline events as well. Like, we've seen a lot of Zan versus Reynor as of late, specifically in RSL Season 3 and offline finals. Crazy. But Zan, he 2-0s Reynor initially in their first series, in their first meeting, and Zan, he 2-1s Reynor again. If you remember, last time they played, I think it was in a best of 7. It was either best of 5 or best of 7. But Zan, he adapted the hell out of Reynor. Like 4 different games. So yeah, 4 different games must have been a best of 7. Zan, he had 4 different Glaive Adept builds, 4 different variations, slight variations of Glaive Adepts, and he adapted the hell out of Reynor, knocked him out of RSL. I think that was RSL Season 3, end of last year, and now we're seeing it here. I didn't get to see the games, so my assumption is we saw some aggression out of Zan. That is my assumption, but I do know that Zan, he's a very tricky player. He does like to mix up his builds, and yeah, he takes down Reynor. Takes him down at 2-1 in the final match, and Zan advances on out of Group A, not Reynor and not SOS. So GG well played. I would say that was a bit of an upset. That leads us into Group B. Group B still has yet to play out. That's going to be in 2 days' time. We have Max, Rogue, Bunny, and Clem. Coming into this group here, my assumption is that both Clem and Max will make it through. I say that Bunny and Rogue are good enough to upset, and they're good enough to bring down either Clem and Max. But again, the favorite players are still the 2 Europeans in Group B. Best of luck to all those involved. That leads us into Group C. Group C has Cure, Trigger, Classic, and Sham. Ooh, speaking of Classic underperforming, Classic, like Hero, did underperform in the LiuLi Cup, but here I would say this is an upset. Classic not making it out of the group stage. Cure is one that can bring him down, but Trigger took him down as well. Oh my god. Going further into the groups here, we had Classic. He 2-0 Trigger initially, then he went down to Cure 2-1. Again, Cure has some killer TVP. We were praising his TVP earlier in the series versus Max in the Wardy tournament. So I wouldn't be too surprised here about Cure defeating Classic. Trigger, he knocked Cham out, and then Trigger, he took down Classic 2-1 in the PvP. I mean, it's a PvP. Anything can and will happen. It's a very aggressive and a very chaotic matchup, of course, but that is a big win for Trigger. GG well played, knocking Classic out of Group C. GG well played. Big upset. That leads us into Group D. Group D is going to be Björn, Shin, Cristiano, and Maru. Coming into this group, I will say the 2 favorite players are going to be Maru and Björn, the 2 Terrans, but I can definitely see Shin and Cristiano threatening them as well and potentially causing an upset. We've already had some upsets already in these groups with Zan defeating Reynor and with Trigger defeating Classic. We could see more upsets here as well. So best of luck. Best of luck to all the players in both Group B and D as we work towards the playoffs. Now, we have not been covering the group stage, but once we get into the playoffs, we should be casting that live here on the CranKy Ducklings. Until then, though, all of this is going to be over on the RSL channel, on Tasteless's channel even, with the RSL casting teams of Tasteless, of State, of Gemini, of all those others, of Sturgeon, of course, of Sturgeon. They have yet to showcase Sort of as a guest caster, but Sort of is also in Korea, so every now and then they also bring him on as a guest commentator. And potentially others. But again, best of luck to all those players involved still in the group stage. Best of luck. That leads us into the WardiTV Team League Season 10. Oh boy. This was announced earlier, of course, but very quickly, let's go over the qualifiers. I believe we just had the first round of WardiTV, of the WardiTV Season 10, or we're getting into the results after the qualifier. Coming into the qualifier, what what teams do we have here? Okay, interesting. So it looks like top three. It looks like top three teams would make it through into the main event. We had a 3D clan, which had Astra, Def Mars, Alsub, Jimmy Micro, Lord GG, and Milky Cow. Pretty decent team here for 3D clan, not gonna lie. We had Among Us the Two People. We had a Deshi, Permanent Rebellion. Ooh, where's Lunacy? Lunacy is... Oh, wait, no. Lunacy, he joined Streamer Zone, right? True. Yeah. So no Lunacy was available. Who else is in Among Us the Two People? I think they have some of the SEL players like Mang Russell, right? Like Mang Russell. I know that 3 Point was on Among Us the Two People as well. Like I think like on Korea, I think he's on Among Us the Two People, and like on NA, he's on Hyper One. So they had potentially some other players, but they had a pure Protoss lineup here. An interesting lineup here. They have potential for sure. Bing Bong Exports, let's go. We had a Kedon, Anticore, Azura, Gref, Heaven, Neo, Nisho, and Spazzy Mazzy as well. We had Bonkers. That's a new team. That's a custom team here of I was going to say French team. We have Arcfire, Baby Marine, and Jimmy. Wait, did Streamer Zone not field the roster? That's surprising. I thought that Streamer Zone was going to be a sure thing for an invited team, right? Like Streamer Zone would be what, Baby Marine, Jimmy, and Geralt. Like that's a solid lineup. I mean, no disrespect to Arcfire here, but yeah, I'm a little bit surprised that Streamer Zone wasn't invited. So instead we had a custom team here of Arcfire, Baby Marine, and Jimmy. They have a lot of potential, of course. We have Dr. Salman Al Habib. Let's with Hydra, Kamikaze, Magnath, and Nihed. Okay.
Do you know what that reference is to?
It's a reference. I don't.
Was
it like an ad that was playing?
Yeah, it was an ad that was playing during EWC, like over and over.
EWC.
So it's kind of like kind of like the sparkling for GSL.
Yeah. I remember that was a meme. Interesting lineup here. Interesting collaboration of players. I was not expecting Kamikaze to join them. Out of all of them, like what? Like out of left field, suddenly Kamikaze. Okay, sure, why not? We had Exeritus, which was Cham, Eggs, and Universe. Did have our pseudo Latin American team. We had Insane Master Killers, which is Boreal, Cristiano Ronaldo, Cristo Dorado, his cousin. We had Dark Unnamed. Oh, that's a new pickup, by the way, for Insane Master Killers. Oh no, I remember we covered their in-house tournament. Yeah. He got picked up recently. Mute. Oh, that is scandalous. Mute, did he leave Bing Bong Exports? Because Mute should be on the Bing Bong team, but he joined Insane Master Killers. Yeah, I'm checking his Wikipedia page. Yeah.
That's the word he used.
It says here that Mute he joined Insane Master Killers in February last month. But it's a little bit weird because it says that he's on both teams. It says he's on both Bing Bong Exports and Insane Master Killers on Wikipedia. So yeah, I don't know what to believe there. It's possible that like he's still on Bing Bong Exports, but they're like loaning him onto Insane Master Killers for this team league. Like it's possible that's the case. But interesting that he's there. I would say he's the ace player for that team now. But it also means that I guess it kind of makes sense, right? Like because he's playing for Insane Master Killers, there's a high chance that if he stayed on Bing Bong Exports for this team league, that he would not get fielded, just because there are other potentially strong players. Like I say that there's like Azura. I would say Azura is comparable. Anticore, maybe Spazzy Mazzy. Like I feel like you're blurring the line a little bit, but for sure Bing Bong Exports has like a deeper roster, and there's like less of a chance that Mute will play with them on their team. Then had Island Dwellers. This was like custom team. We have Solicitous, we have Deadly Kitten, Def E, and Sodovlad. Interesting team. We had Little Fairy. We had Dis, Ear, Karma Prime, Alloy, Sanchovies, Sunset, and UD Soldier. We already did go over the new acquiring of UD Soldier on the team Little Fairy. We had Old War Machines. Interesting. Once again, an interesting pairing here. We have Art, Boanan, Mini Zerg, which makes sense in my mind. They're from, the region of Europe. But then we have Inexorable. Like suddenly, for both Dr. Soleimani and for Old War Machines, like it's like suddenly Brazilian player. like it's like they drafted and they got Kamikaze on one and Inexorable on the other.
Right. As we know, Brazil is in Europe.
True. Yeah, we need to screenshot this, send it to Yaku, and validate Yaku.
He was right all along.
It was like Brazil is one of the best nations in Europe, 100%, 100%. Yeah, you got to have a Brazilian player. Yeah, makes sense, makes sense. Then I had PCEC. I believe that's Millennium Fox and Nyanyu. Let's double check here. God, one of these days they'll just have their proper names. Let me just double check here. We have I need to Google translate this. I believe that's Millennium Fox, the Chinese Terran player. Yes. So we have Millennium Fox. I think that's Nanyu. Was it the other one? Yep, that's Nanyu. God, I just know my players. The top one is that Shafei. No, that's Sarah Kerrigan. Okay. A player that we have seen before, but a little bit less notable. I don't think this is the strongest PCE team that we could have had, to be honest. But we have Millennium Folks, we have Nanyu. They can hard carry. I'm not too convinced by Sarah Kerrigan. Not too convinced, but we'll see. Actually, hold on. Let's see alternate IDs. Might be a name change. Let's see. No, yeah, I'm not. So best of luck to PCC. Very quickly here, and then we had Spiderwolf, which is this meant to be a reference to Yaoi Yaoi Spider, Yaoi Flash Wolves and Yaoi Spider? Is that what this is? I think so. Maybe. I think it's a reference to the two old Taiwanese teams. Yeah.
Like when I saw the wolf, I'm like, Yaoi Flash Wolves? Fun.
So I keep saying Yaoi Spider. It's Wai. That's it. It's Wai.
Yeah,
so
was
Rex was on Wai Spider back in the day.
Flash Wolves.
Yeah, and Yaoi Flash Wolves was nice. Yeah, yep. That's a reference. So it's a combination of Yaoi Flash Wolves and Wai Spider, which is a blast from the past, by the way. If you remember, Yaoi Flash Wolves, they used to have. I mean, they had Parting for a bit. They had San, if you recall, not San.
They also had really cool jerseys. I just want to say. I was
they
always very
cool
jealous
jerseys.
of the Yaoi Flash Wolves. Okay.
Yeah. Wai Spider. They had. Oh, did they have not Daishi? They had Oh god. They had a Korean player. I have to remember without looking it up. They had a Korean player that's not Daishi, but has a name similar to Daishi. Because obviously Daishi's not Korean. Oh god. And I was a big fan of them. It wasn't Deer. It was, I'm pretty sure it was a Korean Protoss. Oh god. It's not Daishi. It's not Deer.
Daisy.
It's something. No, yeah, Daisy. Yeah, that's it. It wasn't Daisy. It was there. It was Daisy. That's it. I knew. That's why I was harping so much on Daisy. I was like, it's not Daisy, but it's like Daisy. It's Daisy. Is it? Hold on, let me just double check. I think it was Daisy.
I cannot remember if Daisy was on YA. I actually didn't know Daisy very much. Like I wasn't very fan.
Nah, I was a big fan of Daisy. Hold on, let me just double check. Yes. Daisy was on Wai Spider. See, I was so close. I was like a letter off. Daisy and Daisy. But Czech was on Wai Spider as well. I remember they had a bit of a Korean lineup here. I remember Ruin. He left his Kesper team to join Wai Spider as well. I think Ruin was Ruin on SKT? God, he was on SKT or KT. He was in one of the telecoms. But yeah, some really old school Taiwanese teams.
I just like to imagine like some people listening and having like no idea what we're talking about.
I'm sure there's some people that are like, Yaoi Flash Wolves? Why is Spider? I mean, I feel like the majority of people from our era, from our like generation of StarCraft fan, they should at least know what Yaoi Flash was, just because of Parting, right? Just because Parting was a big like popular player, like. And Haas, yeah, like they should remember Yaoi Flash was more. YE Spider was always in Yaoi Flash's shadow when it comes to Taiwanese teams. Like they were like the second best team, second to Yaoi Flash Wolves. They're always like just under them, just below them. So you have to be like a little bit more like ingrained in StarCraft to be like more familiar with them. See in the chat, I'm surprised that PCC didn't put Mixu in this. If you remember, I think Mixu didn't he. No, yeah. Mixu, he should be a part of this. Like he's their ace player for sure. I mean, that's why if you remember, I said that this isn't like the strongest lineup that PCC could field. Like I feel like they have stronger lineups here, to fill out that roster. Have stronger players. But anyway, so we went over the teams. Coming into the bracket itself, let's have a look here. We had Dr. Suleiman Al Habib. They take down Among Us 2 people 4-2. Big win here. Big win for the Doctor. GG well played. We had Island Dwellers taking down Insane Master Killers. Who do they field? Oh, right, there's the 2v2 aspect. Sorry, let's get further into it. So we had Rebellion taking down the Hydra 1-0 in the Pro League Best of 1 format. We had Magnath over Prome. That's a big win for Magnath. We had Ateshi and Rebellion. They did claim the win over Hydra and Kamikaze in the 2v2. Then Nihed took down Ateshi and Kamikaze took down Rebellion. And Kamikaze and Nihed took down Ateshi and Prome in that final 2v2 match. Ooh, GG, well played. Did have a bit of a back and forth here, but in the end, yeah, Kamikaze even beating Rebellion, that's huge. I kind of glossed over that. At the same time, I think Kamikaze is really good for 1v1s, sorry, for best of ones, because Kamikaze is hyper cheesy. If you know anything about Kamikaze, and I mean, if you watch the channel, you should be somewhat familiar. Kamikaze is hyper aggressive, hyper cheesy, almost non-stop all-ins. He either all-ins or he plays mech. It's one or the other. It's either he mechs it up, or he all-ins, or all-ins and mechs it up. So I do think he's quite powerful in these best of ones, and he takes down Rebellion. That's huge. GG. GG well played. Scrolling down here, we did have Insane Master Killers versus Island Dwellers. We did have Deadly Kitten take down Havertz 1-0. Game 2 looks like they didn't play. Potentially Zions was unavailable. Interesting. We had the 2v2, which wasn't played either. We had Soda Vlad taking down Darker Name 1-0. That's a big win for Soda. And then Solicitous takes down Solstice. It's quite a pairing. Takes him down 1-0. Then with the 2v2 with Solicitous and Soda Vlad taking down Boreal and Nazgul 1-0 as well. Interesting. So if you remember, we were theorizing how Mute would be the ace player for Insane Master Killers. Mute wasn't here. Mute wasn't here, and it looks like Zions was unavailable. Zions, he's another big name that they could have relied upon. So Zions didn't show. Mute wasn't a part of the lineup. I would say this was a weaker roster here for Insane Master Killers, and they go down early. Little Fairy, they got a walkover win over Pisa EC. That's unfortunate. Would have been fun to have seen those games played out. It's a bit of a shame. I would love to see more Millennium Fox and more of Nanu as well. Then had a 3D Clan versus Bing Bong Exports. We had a bit of a back and forth. Milky Cow takes on Spazzy Mazzy 1-0. Islestop takes on Gref 1-0 as well. We then had Def Mars and Milky Cow win the 2v2 over at Gedon and Spazzy Mazzy. So a strong start there for 3D Clan with 3 wins in a row. Then Spazzy Mazzy fights back, puts a point on the board against Milky Cow. We had Azura put a point on the board against Def Mars. And then we had Def Mars and Islestop win the 2v2 over at Gedon and Azura. GG. GG well played. Bing Bong Exports, they get knocked out in the first round. That leads us into the upper bracket quarterfinals. Here we had Yo Wai. We had Spider-Wolf going up against the Doctor himself. 4-0. Strong showing here from the Taiwanese team. We had nice takedown Magnath, nice 6 and Nihed. Oh, did they... Can you do that? Can we? Okay, I guess we can replace. We had a nice and Rex taking down Kamikaze and Nihed in the 2v2, and we had Shinobu taking down Kamikaze as well. Rex, he did not get to play against Hydra, and Rex, he was slated to play against Hydra and Kamikaze in the 2v2. Rex, he could just chill here in this series with a 4-0 scoreline. Strong showing out of Spider-Wolf. Strong showing. Then we had Bunkers versus Island Dwellers. Bunkers is one of the stronger teams here. It's like pseudo streamer zone. With Jumi taking down Defi 1-0. Alric took down Solicitous 1-0. Alric and Jumi, they take down Defi and Soda Vlad. And we had Baby Marine taking down Soda Vlad in the final game as well. So strong showing there from Bunkers. GG. Leads us into Exertus versus Little Fairy. Ooh, this is a spicy one. Cham took down Sunset 1-0. I would say Cham is the ace player for Exertus. Then had Ear taking down Universe 1-0, so we have a bit of a back and forth. Then had Sunset and UD Soldier. They actually lost against Cham and Universe in the 2v2. Big win there for Exertus. UD Soldier takes on Eggs 1-0. I would say that UD Soldier is the ace player for Little Fairy. UD Soldier takes on Universe 1-0, so UD Soldier, he carries for his team here. But then it comes down to another 2v2. Cham and Eggs, they actually win this time versus Ear and Malloy. And then we had Cham in the ace match versus Ear. Where's UD Soldier? What? I would have placed UD there. Like, UD is the ace player, like 100%. Cham gets the win over Ear, and Cham does advance on Exertus Esports. They make it through into the they make it through into the upper bracket semifinals. But a little bit surprising that they didn't use UD Soldier for the ace match. Very surprising. Maybe he didn't feel confidence in PvZ But on White Rabbit, like, nah, I feel I don't know. So interesting choice there. Interesting choice. I feel like a lost opportunity to use the UD Soldier. That leads us down to Old War Machines versus 3D Clan. Okay. Interesting. We had Def Mars. Okay, so we had Def Mars over Inexorable in the best of one. We had Boanan over Iosop. We then had Def Mars and Iosop win the 2v2 versus Boanan and Inexorable. Very nice win there for 3D Clan. Then we had Boanan. Boanan beats Milky Cow. That's crazy. He cannon rushed Milky Cow. Boanan, he almost exclusively cheeses. So for him to beat Milky Cow, that's a big upset, I would say. It's a big upset, big win. Art takes on Iosop, and Art and Inexorable, they do get the 2-2 win over Def Mars and Milky Cow. GG, well played. Again, I'm just most surprised by the Boanan Milky Cow scoreline. If it wasn't for that, if Milky Cow had won that game, they forced the ace match, and then it'd be what, like Milky Cow versus Art. That could go either way. To be fair, that could have gone either way, Milky Cow versus Art. But yeah, that was a big win for Boanan. Big win. GG, well played. GG, well played. That leads us into the upper bracket semifinals. This was the first qualifying match. We had Bonkers versus Wai. I keep wanting to say Wai, yo. Spider Wolf. We had Nice taking down Jumi 1-0. Nice took down Aragfire 1-0 as well. So they start with a 2-0 lead. Shout out to Nice. Nice, he does pop off. Then we had Baby Marine and Jumi. They won the 2v2 over Nice and Rex. Big win there for the 2v2 duo. Baby Marine took down Shinobu 1-0. Aragfire took down Rex 1-0 as well. And then we had Aragfire and Jumi win the 2v2 over Nice and Shinobu. GG, well played. Bonkers heavily dominating here in the 2v2s. They carried in the 2v2s. Baby Marine and Aragfire, they did do well for themselves as well. Nice performed beautifully here in the series, but he could only do so much. He could only do so much. Este Rex, Este Shinobu. Where's Lemon? True, I just realized, because I was thinking of like other Taiwanese players. Where's my Citrus? Where is Lemon? What team is he on? Hold on. Isn't he on one of the Chinese teams? He is, right? Hold on, 1 moment. Gotta double check. Lemon, he's on Elpis. He's on Elpis, who they didn't play in this team league, but he totally could have joined. Like, there's I thought there was a limit of 4 players, right? Is it 4 players per team? I remember there was a ruling for that. But yeah, a little bit surprised that Lemon wasn't involved. I think it would have been a strong third here for sure, even a strong second. But in the end, Bonkers do claim the win. That leads us into the next qualifying match, Exertus versus Old War Machines. Here we had Cham over Boanan, takes him down 1-0. We had Minizerg over Universe, big win there for Minizerg, winning 1-0. Cham and Eggs, they win the 2v2 over Boanan and Inexorable. We had Art taking down Eggs 1-0. We had Inexorable taking down Universe 1-0 as well. Jesus. Yeah, strong showing here from Old War Machine. Cham, he does do well for himself for the most part. It comes down to the final 2v2, Cham and Universe versus Art and Minizerg, and in the end, Old War Machine, they do claim the win. They claimed the win at 4-2 over Exertus in that best of 7. Then we had the final qualifying match. We had Spider Wolf versus Exertus Esports. Oh, okay. Cham gets the win over Nice initially. Oh, that doesn't bode well for the rest of the series. Eggs takes down Shinobu. I'm very unfamiliar with Shinobu's play. I don't really know how to kind of rate him amongst the players, so Eggs does claim that win. Cham and Universe, they do win the 2v2 over Nice and Shinobu. We then begin the comeback. Este Rex. Rex takes down Universe. Rex takes down Eggs. Big win there for Rex. Nice and Rex, they do win over Cham and Eggs when it comes to the 2v2. And then it all the way comes down to the ace match, and Cham once again takes down Nice 1-0. This all came down to Cham versus Nice, and Cham does come out as the stronger player. GG. It was close. It was close. GG, well played. Exertus Esports, they do claim the win. They qualify for the main event. Now, when it comes to the main event, let us head on over. Let's have a look at the qualified teams and also the invited teams as well. Once again, I'm surprised that Streamer Zone was not invited. I'm surprised. But in the end, we had our qualified teams. That's Bonkers, Exertus, and Old War Machines. So we have our 3 teams through the qualifiers. We had Basilisk invited. Makes sense. They've got... Oh, I was going to say Reynor, Serral, Trigger. They've got Goblin. Oh my Gobo. He joined Basilisk for this team league. Okay. Interesting. So Goblin did join the Basilisk roster. We have Shopify, which is Bjorn, Harsum, Lambo, and Scarlet. Just double checking, and yeah, Goblin he didn't officially join Basilisk, but he's playing for them in the team league. We then had No Ace Jinair, which is basically Jinair without Maru. Feels bad, man. Which is a creator, rogue, and SOS. The ex-Junior players. We had Stanibles, which, if you recall, was a new team that was created with a bunch of the up-and-coming Russian talents. We had Gene Machine, Nikrat, Seamus, and Yang Yakov, a very strong team. We then had Not CJ Antis, which does feature Bunny, Hero, and Shin. These are basically the ex-CJ boys that are still active in StarCraft. Those 3 players. Then at Onside, which is, if you recall, we spoke about how Cristiano did join Onside and left Offside. So we have Maru, Ryung, Zhang, and Cristiano. So you got the Offside team, sorry, the Onside team. Then at Platinum Heroes, Art, Fiant, Gunner, Eva, Ledlix, and Sebestes. So we do have Team Platinum Heroes. We have Polish Power, a custom team here. Once again, Streamer Zone, I guess, wasn't a part of this, so Geralt, he does end up joining a Laser and Spirit, a very strong Polish team is what I will say. They're just missing Cristiano and Mana, but they're on their own respective teams. Speaking of Team Liquid, Team Liquid is Clem, Cure, Mana, and Skillus. We do have our Team Liquid. We have the 3 Musketeers. Okay. Do you think they know that they misspelled that? Okay.
Is that like somehow
maybe
a reference to the player, Musty?
Maybe.
I'm missing some context here.
We have classic Hero Marine and Showtime. Ah, finally it happens. For those that don't remember, during World Team League, because we casted every season of WTL, especially like the last 4 seasons of World Team League, Yaku and I, because in WTL there were some custom teams there as well, and there were certain players that we wanted to get involved. And we wanted the collaboration of Big Mouse. We wanted Team Big, which was Showtime's team, and Mouse from which was Gabe's team, right? We just wanted a Big Mouse, okay? That's all we wanted. And we never got it. Finally we get it. Showtime's no longer on Big, but finally Showtime and Gabe, they join forces, they become a team together with Classic alongside them. If you remember, for the World Team League, I believe Showtime, one of the reasons why it couldn't happen towards the end is because Showtime, he joined Basilisk for the Team League. He didn't join them officially, but he was like a mercenary. So imagine this setup, but instead of Goblin, Basilisk had Showtime. I would imagine they wanted to do the same thing here, but Showtime, he joined forces with some of the other players, so they grabbed Goblin instead. Showtime instead joining forces with Gabe and Classic. Pretty strong team. That leads us into the villains of SE2. That is, of course, Max, Percival, and Solar. You don't get more villainous than that. True. The toxicity. So there we go. We have our final teams here. I believe there are some players missing, if I do think about it. Who are we missing, Kopo, when it comes to the top players? I'm sure there's a bunch of Koreans that are missing, right? Surprised that Ryung is playing. SOS joins No Ace Jinair, true. Yeah. There's no Nightmare. If you remember, if there was a stream,
semi-active right now, right?
I mean, he was playing in the GSL CK.
Yeah, but that's what I mean. That's why I say semi-active. Where like he plays every now and then, but like he's not like super active right now.
He's more active than he once was previously. But yeah, I would say that because Streamer Zone isn't a part of this, so Nightmare doesn't really have a team here. So Nightmare is missing. Do any other players come to mind outside of that, though?
Where is your thermal? No, but...
True, there's no Uwu thermal. True. Smudge.
Out of like people who play in tournaments actively right now. Oh.
Yeah, I think we've got all the main ones. Obviously, like, we're missing some of the other, like, more niche players, like Wayne, for example. Like, Wayne isn't here. As I mentioned, Nightmare isn't here. Who else comes to mind when it comes to, like, top players? We have Nick Rats. We have Baby Marine. There's no Team Roddy. True. There's no Fiance. Yeah, right. That's what we mentioned. Sorry, there is Fiant. Sorry. It's Platinum Heroes. It should be like Platinum Roddy or like or Team Heroes. Yeah. Because they have Fiant and Sebestis, which are the Team Roddy boys. They joined Platinum Heroes for this team league, so they're there. True. Oh, true. No Hod Mono. That's Hod Mono 3 points. They're a little bit less active though. To be fair, less active. They're more into StarCraft Evolution. But regardless, it's going to be a fun event nonetheless. It's going to be a very fun event. And speaking of, the event did already commence. Here. Let's go over Group A. So Group A did begin last night. Group B has yet to begin themselves. Group B is going to be consisting of Villains of SC2, Onside, Three Musketeers, Shopify, Polish Power, Bonkers, and the Old War Machines. Very quick predictions. It's going to be top 3 teams making it through into the playoffs. Obviously, Onside are a heavy favorite to make it through. I feel like Villains of SC2, I don't know how well they're going to play together because there are 2v2s involved. If it was purely 1v1s, I would say they are favored as well. With 2v2s getting involved, they're a little bit of a wild card. I think Shopify, obviously, a big, strong team as well. The Three Musketeers, Polish Power, like a lot of these teams, they got a lot of potential. Like, it's hard to call outside of, like, I would say Onside and Shopify should be sure things. Should be. When it comes to Group A, we have Basilisk, Team Liquid, we have not CJ, we have not Generic, we got Platinum Roddy, we got Exertus and Stanley Balls as well. Also some heavy teams, like these are so difficult to call, especially in best of 1 formats. We had Basilisk taking down Stanley Balls, and as you can see, even though Basilisk, I would say, a favorite, they barely won their series 4-3. Nickrak beat Serral. Yo, Nickrak beat Serral, and GG Machine beat Reynor as well. Crazy results here. But this is what you can do for best of 1s, right? It's best of 1 Pro League format. You have time to prepare for your matches. You have time to set up your builds, and you can catch people off guard like this. So again, big win there for Nickrak, big win for GG Machine. GG Machine and Shameless, yep, the stronger 2v2 team. They take down Goblin and Serral. Very well done. A very strong 2v2 team. Goblin, he does fight back versus Shameless. That could have ended, that could have been a 4-0, by the way. This could have been a 4-0 for Standing Bulls even. Could have been a 4-0, but Goblin, he begins the comeback, takes on Shameless. Trigger takes on Young Yakov. Trigger and Serral, they are the stronger 2v2 team. They take down Shameless and Young Yakov in the 2v2, and then Serral, he clutches it out in the ace match versus Shameless. GG, well played, but a very close and a very clutch initial starting match for the tournament. Crazy, and showing the power of 1v1, the power of preparation, the power of Pro League format. Even Serral and Reynor, they're prone to it. They're vulnerable to it. I think that was the only one. Okay, yeah, only one match. Wow, they only had one match on the 11th of March. What?
Yeah, they're
okay,
not.
sure.
Not doing like organized weeks the way like other leagues do. It doesn't seem like, or I guess they kinda do, but yeah.
Yeah, we'll see. Maybe they rescheduled because they weren't available later.
Yeah,
like,
I think
there's
that may
something
be the
going on there.
case.
But in 17 minutes, they're going to be featuring the first round of Group B. So that's going to be Polish Power versus Onside. We already have the lineups here. It's going to be Geralt versus Down, Laser versus Christiana, Laser and Geralt versus Christiana and Ryung. We have Spirit versus Ryung. Ooh, that's going to be a spicy TVT. Geralt versus Maru, and Geralt and Spirit versus Maru and Sound. So again, we already have the lineups. Fun fact, we actually have a lot of lineups here for the week already established. We won't go through every single one. We have Onside versus Shopify Rebellion also taking place here tonight with Mara versus Björn, Harsa versus Christiana, Björn and Lambert versus Christiana and Ryung, Lambert versus Zaun, Björn versus Ryung, and Harsa and Lambert versus Mara and Zaun. I don't like that. Oh, never mind. I was gonna say I don't like that they're both happening tonight, one after the other. It won't give. It just specifically Onside are at a disadvantage. Oh no, actually. They're all at a disadvantage. It's a little bit messy. I think I would have preferred like only one series for each team per week. But it looks like they're doing 2. So it's Onside has 2 matches, Polish Power has 2 matches, Shopify has 2 matches, and the other team, Villains of StarCraft, have 2 matches as well. But yeah, they're doubling up. It's a bit of a messy schedule, I will say. It's a little bit messy here. But I do wish the best to all the players. I do understand that I think some of these are going to be casted via replays. I think some of these matches, like they already played their games and they submitted them. It's going to be a replay cast instead, just because of scheduling issues. But regardless, best of luck. best of luck to all the matches and to all the teams. And again, I'm sure it's going to be a lot of fun. I'm sure it's going to be a lot of fun seeing this kind of Team League format again. It's hard to call who's going to be favored here, but again, best of luck to everyone involved. Again, to see Bastards versus Downy Balls already like that, that kind of sets a tone of what to expect. And that is expect the unexpected out of these Team League matches. GG. GG, well played. That leads us into, speaking of Team League, the GSL CK, which we did cast last night, of course. This is a new variation of GSL, not quite GSTL, which I think I almost called it twice during the cast, or 3 times during the cast last night. But the GSL CK, the GSL Champions Korea, it is a new kind of format here, a draft Team League format with all the top Korean players. So essentially, we had Team Maru and Team Hero. We had our top 2 teams. Also, we had our top 2 players of Korea, right? Maru and Hero. They're straight up the 2 best players in Korea, and of course, some of the best players in the world. And they both were enlisted. They both were assigned to be captains for their respective teams, and they both had to draft their teams as well. It was a snake draft, going kind of back and forth through all the players. I know that Maru, he was first to pick. So Maru, his first pick was Byeon, and then Hero picked 2. Hero picked Bunny and Classic. It was actually Classic first. I know Classic was Hero's first pick. So it was Classic, and I think it was Classic and Shin, if I recall correctly. But I know that Byeon was Maru's first pick. And then they went back and forth. They went back and forth when it comes to constructing their teams, until finally we had our 2 teams. We had Team Maru, which consists of Maru, Byeon, his right hand, Creator, Cure, Solar, and SOS. We then had Team Hero, which was Hero, Classic, Bunny, Nightmare, Rogue, Shin, and Zaun. Unfortunately, it was an odd number of players, so Team Hero did have 1 extra player. What that meant was that Team Maru could revive. It meant that one of their players could play twice. And I believe they had to roll the dice for that. They had to it had to be like randomized as to who would play twice. Otherwise, they just like refueled Maru, for example, which wouldn't be the most fair of things. So they just rolled the dice on that one. But yeah, it was going to be 2 different matches here, and this was last night. We did cast it live over on the Soup platform, and we actually rebroadcasted this morning over on Twitch and YouTube. If you missed it, I highly recommend the VODs. It was amazing. It was beautiful. We began with the Pro League format. So the teams, they did kind of veto first. The maps were chosen, and then they did pick players that were going to be showcased on each map. They sent those lineups to the admin, then it was revealed. I say admin, they sent it to Ryung specifically, and Ryung, he revealed the lineups here. It was Cure versus Hero, Solar versus Classic, Byeon versus Shin, SOS versus Zaun, and Creator versus Bunny, and Maru versus Rogue. That was like the kind of the final lineups here, and in the end, we had Team Maru taking a dominant win over Team Hero. Hero did start things off with a win. He took down Cure in the initial series on 10,000 feet, which was a very strong showing. And then we had a bit of an aggressive follow-up here with Solar. He went for a big all-in versus Classic. He was able to shut him down on the Old Republic. We had Shin attempting to all-in against Byeon. Shin, he went for a 2-base Hydra all-in, and Byeon didn't even know what was going on, but Byeon, he happened to stumble upon the Hydras, caught them out, and then ended the series, or ended the game then and there. That led us into SOS versus Zaun, a PvP, which was a close one, but SOS was looking surprisingly in form. Zaun, he kind of got into his own head. He kind of fell behind. It was a bit of a shaky start, and SOS took Zaun down. Then had Creator versus Bunny. That was a very close game. That was very close, very intense. At times, Bunny was winning, then Creator, then Bunny. It was very back and forth, and Creator, he had a crazy comeback and barely won it out over Bunny. GG. Team Maru, they won the Pro League set, the Pro League portion of the broadcast. Then it went to the all-kill format. All-kill format is when a player wins, they stay on. They stay on until they get knocked down. So bam, we started things off with Byeon versus Rogue. Byeon did defeat Rogue on Mothership. It did claim that 1-0. Then we had Zaun bounce back. Zaun, he was able to redeem himself from the earlier series, took down Byeon 1-0, and took down SOS, also redeeming himself and winning in the rematch. So 2 wins there for Zaun. We then had Maru coming out, swinging for the first time. Maru did not get to play in the Pro League formats because this team did so well, but he finally showed off here, and it was a really close match. I was very, very impressed by Zaun on Tourmaline. Maru was playing, he took a lead early on, he was playing from ahead, and Zaun hung in there for a long time. Like, it was very, very impressed as Zaun was able to out trade and just take better fights, but he was down economically throughout the entire game. So he was just treading water. He was just treading water the entire time and somehow surviving, but never quite winning. So Maru took the win. And then Classic went on a tear, by the way. We were talking about how Classic did underperform in LiuLi Cup, and I want to say he underperformed in the WardiTV Winter Championship as well, or the other big events where Classic, he was just struggling when it came to the group stage of these tournaments. Sorry, I say that. I meant to say RSL. That's it. He was struggling in RSL. So Classic, he did underperform in some recent tournaments, but here he went crazy. Classic took down Maru. He basically all killed. He took down Maru, Creator, Solar, Björn, and Cure. The only player that Classic didn't beat was SOS, because they never played. But Classic, he beat the hell out of the rest of the team. He almost essentially all killed by himself. Strong showing there by Classic, winning the all kill format portion for Team Hero, and that led us into the ace match, because Team Maru, they won the Pro League format. Team Hero won the all kill format. It came down to a singular best of one between the captains, between Hero and Maru. They face off in that best of one. It was very intense, very clutch back and forth between the two teams, between the two players. Maru, I mean, again, it went down to a base trade. It went down, I highly recommend the VODs. It was so exciting. It was so much fun. It came down to a base trade. Both players, they barely had any units left. It came down to a handful of probes, a handful of units, just one base and one Nexus and one CC each. It was very, very, very close, very, very clutch. In the end, Maru, he barely clutched it out over Hero. There were a couple of key mistakes from Hero, like storming his own High Templar, losing 2 full energy High Templar as well, not having those storms available. There were a couple of key moments, and Maru, he barely won it out. GG well played. Maru, he wins day 1 of the GSL CK. And remember, this was only day 1. I don't know if the people at Wikipedia realize that, because they kind of set it up here and it's just GSL CK.
Actually, we just got an update that there will be GSL CK number 2, so they are actually separating it.
Okay. Well, day 2 is next week.
Yeah. But I actually looked at, in the Discord they posted that it's like number 2, so I guess we may as well just make a separate page.
Okay. So this was number 1. Number 2 is going to be next week. Next week will be number 2, and details will be released soon regarding number 2. But regardless, it was a really fun event. They were taking feedback regarding the event as well. It was very long. It was like 5 hours, 5+ hours of StarCraft. But also a breath of fresh air, and great to see some more Team League-esque matches once again. It was great. It was beautiful. GG. I recommend the VODs. Do recommend it. As again, we're getting more of GSL in some capacity, and again, we have more GSL next week. That leads us into our modded events. That leads us into the Patch Class Showdown number 6. Number 6 did take place. We did provide some coverage for this as well, of course. Patches, he has made his own custom mod, which has some crazy changes, of course. It's almost touching everything, actually, kind of reinventing and kind of reasserting himself when it comes to Storm, when it comes to the Cyclone, when it comes to Ghost, when it comes to the Warping mechanic. It's a really in-depth and a really daunting mod, just changing so much of the game. Some of the bigger changes, for example, is there's a Hive Tech upgrade for Roaches to become 1 supply. There are some Reaper upgrades for bonus damage to buildings. There are some Adept upgrades as well for, I want to say, for shooting air, true, for getting anti-air as an attack. There's an upgrade for sensor towers. Sorry, the sensor tower has been changed. Now the sensor tower is pulsing, so instead of like permanent vision, it there's a sonar radar pulse that gives vision sporadically as the pulse occurs, which is a really cool change. So it's not just permanent vision. What are some of the other changes here? Cloak, right? DTs, Dark Templar have been changed. With Dark Templar, if they're lacking shields, they're not cloaked. Like they have to have 100% shields to be cloaked. And on top of that, units that are warped in with a proxy pylon, they warp in without shields. To warp in with shields, they have to be closer to a nexus, right? Closer to a main structure, a main building. Proxy pylons out there will warp in stripped by shields, which weakens something like DT harass as well. But it also weakens charge up round buys, drops, like big warp ins, like big harassment options. That also is going to be lessened and weakened, as it also does impact the Warp Prism as well. True. What are some of the other changes? I mean, there's a lot. Again, it's quite daunting when it comes to the Terran. I know the Raven was reworked as well. I think the Raven has like a repair drone. I remember that he got rid of Neosteel frames and high sec order tracking, which are the 2 late game Terran building upgrades, and he replaced them with a sprinkler system, which is whenever a Terran building catches fire, then it triggers like these automatic robots that like put the fire out. But that's to compensate for removing building armor and extra range for turrets. So that's been removed, which is good. It means it's less turtle heavy, but does help out with like burning buildings. What are some of the other changes here? I know there were some upgrade changes. Charge got like shields, so whenever a zealot charges, they gain some extra shield as well to protect them, to help them scale a little bit better. That's a separate upgrade. Is that shield upgrade for charge lots? There were some other Zerg changes as well. What comes to mind for Zerg? Oh, right, there's a Ravager upgrade, which reduces the time it takes for the bile to land. So biling like lands faster, so the opponent has less time to react and respond. Like you have to be on top of that, on top of your splits. There's a lot of really interesting upgrades, and it's just a different. It's I don't know if I want to say a different game, but it's like a different take on StarCraft, and it's pretty intense. It's pretty intense. It's pretty in depth, and big shout out to Patches for putting the work and updating the mod on a regular basis. Again, there's details and notes out there, but it's quite a lot. It's like 12 pages of text. Like it's a lot to take in for sure. When it comes to the show matches, we had Reynor versus Universe. Reynor takes on Universe 3-1 to win that PVT. Then had Berry Crunch versus Eon. Eon does claim the win over Berry Crunch 3-1 as well. Big win there for Eon. Then had Art versus Fiant, back and forth PVZ there, where Art takes down Fiant 3-2 in that best of 5. We had some 3 show matches, and of course we had our winners: Reynor, Eon, and Art. GG well played. GG well played. From my understanding, now that the arcade has been fixed, Patches will be hosting some open cups and some 5.4k MR cups as well. They'll be on the horizon. They'll be on the horizon here for his patch, for his mod. Up next, we had the. Up next, we did have the Speaking of the Patch Clash number 13, 5.4k edition. Also on the same mod, instead of show matches, we had a double elimination bracket. Here we had an Inexorable, the Brazilian Terran player, takes on Barry, takes on Yo-Yo 2-1, but to actually force the Yo-Yo in the grand finals, that's crazy. He bounces back. Este Yo-Yo, he gets knocked down and then bounces back up here, taking down an Inexorable 2-0 and then 2-1. That's a big upset. Big win for Yo-Yo. GG. GG well played. Yo-Yo, he's of course more of like an up and coming like ladder player, like ladder hero, if you will. So for him to take down an Inexorable, that's huge. That is huge. Leads us into the Bingus Worlds, number 29. Okay, once again we had a unique format here. It looks like we had some StarCraft Evolution. Yep. So it's an SE Evo show match. Here we had. Just SE Evo, like best of 5 here between Rake and Kot. Rake does take down Kot 3-0 in the initial best of 5 on Vermeer, Sylphid, and Ruby Rock. Then we had a bonus map where Kot beat Rake on Jungle Maze 2. Okay, sure. I don't know how you 1v1 on Jungle Maze 2, but sure. So a bit of a nonsense kind of like bonus map towards the end. But congratulations to Rake for claiming the win 3-0. GG. GG well played. As Rake does claim the win. That leads us into our amateur events. That leads us into the Amateur League monthly tournament, number 49. This is a regular event for amateur players. Each kind of section here is MMR restricted. We had the Initiate Edition, which is bronze to platinum. Here we had Saito. Hey, Este Saito takes down Jackals 2-0, takes down Tebs 3-1 in the grand finals. Congratulations to Saito for winning the Initiate Monthly. We then had the Veteran Edition for Diamond 3 and Diamond 2 players. Not many signups this month, actually. This is usually a little bit more populated. But we had Barks. Barks, he took down Old Lady 3-0. 3-0 to claim the win.
I do want to put as a reminder that this is the monthly edition, which is in the American time zone. And that one usually has a little less signups, but not quite this little.
Yeah.
So
exactly.
if you are in the NA time zone and you are looking for an amateur tournament to play, that there is a monthly.
There you go. Yeah, as you said, like usually it's a little more populated than this, despite the time zone. So it's a little bit weird. It's a little bit weird that the signups were as low as they were. But here we had the Prestige Edition, which is Diamond 1 to M2. This is usually the most populated kind of brackets of MMR of players. Here we had Miu. Miu, he went down to Beast. Beast took down Miu 2-0. Beast took down Matrix 2-1 as well, before eventually falling to Saipem in the semifinals. Saipem takes him down, gets knocked down. does advance on to the grand finals. We actually had a rematch. Okay, so Beast goes down to Saipan in the semis, but then Beast does win 3-0 in the rematch in the grand finals. GG, well played. Beast does claim the win here in the Prestige Monthly. That leads us into the Elite Monthly, where we had a walkover win for Dead Remus. GG. GG well played. Only one sign up here. Unfortunate. It's a lot more standard to see no sign-ups in the GM edition, just because the M1 GM portion, pro players prefer to just play for money. This is playing for points. Bear that in mind. That these weeklies, these monthlies, they do play for points to be seeded into later tournaments. They don't play necessarily for initial prize money in these regular events. The seasonal finals, though, those typically do have prize pools. But that leads us into SDO, into Duckling Open number 143. That is our monthly tournament for those that are 4.2k and below. When it comes to MMR, that is around Masters 2, or Masters 2 and below, or like mid Masters 2 and below. As we did have a couple of newer faces here. We had Muckaboy. He takes down Blue Knight 2-0, Liberty 2-0, takes down Pretty Fly, and takes down Uncle Climax in the finals. Uncle Climax, he used to be a regular many years ago, but recently did return. We had Sugar Cult, we had Star Knight as well, we had Blue Knight. I want to say it was the last SDO where the finals were Blue Knight and Star Knight, but they did both go down earlier this time in the tournament. And congratulations to Muckaboy for claiming the win 3-0. GG. GG, well played, does claim the win. That leads us into the Nation League Season 7. Do we have our champions? We have the semis. Okay, semifinals did take place. We had Sweden take down Hungary 4-3 in the best of 7. Constructed by all these best of 2s, of course. We had Ibra and System tied 1-1. We had Milka and Gargoyle also tied 1-1. We had Winter and Cos Phoenix tied 1. Jesus, all the tied like 1-1s. Oh my god. In these best of 2s, it all came down to the ace match. Cos Phoenix takes down Winter 1-0, and Sweden, they take down Hungary in the semifinals. GG, well played. Sweden, they do advance on to the grand finals. We then had Ukraine up against Taiwan, Japan in the lower semis. Then we had Ilya takes down Ian 2-0. We had Set and Nisizao tied 1-1. We had Endro taking down Undertaker 2-0, and Ukraine, they advance on to the finals as well. So we have a Sweden versus Ukraine finals and Taiwan Japan versus Hungary third place match. Best of luck. Best of luck to all the teams involved. The players that got knocked down are going to be represented, though, in the consolation tournaments. Here we had the round 2, the quarterfinals. Poland takes down Czechia 5-1. We had Lesker taking down Biri. We had Rathak and Kosit tied 1-1, and we had Matrix taking down Mashti 2-0. So Poland, they claim the win. Bolivia gets a walkover win into the third round. We had Germany, they take down Italy 4-3, just barely. We had Mad Max and Trainois tied 1-1. We had Lutrax taking down Centurion 2-0. We had Garlard taking down Violin 2-0. And then we had the ace match, Mad Max taking down Trainois 1-0 in the final game. GG, well played. In the end, Germany, they barely take down Italy. We then had Peru get the walkover win over Brazil. That's unfortunate. I was looking forward to the Latin American series there with Brazil and Peru. But in the end, we have our top 4 teams in the consolation tournament. It's Poland, Bolivia, Germany, and Peru. So they're all facing off in those semifinals. So best of luck, as the upcoming week should be featuring the final events and the final players, and we should be able to crown our champion, the best nation in StarCraft. We'll get there. We will get there. Up next, we have the Elpis Team League 2026 Cup. I believe we've been slowly working through this event. We already went through the earlier rounds, if I'm not mistaken. We went through the qualifiers last time, correct? Or was that a different tournament?
No, last time we just saw the teams. There were no results yet.
Okay. Speaking of, we have results coming in. We have Super Kitty 2. Oh, that's a big win, actually. Super Kitty 2, they take down Elpis. That should not have happened, by the way. Smile takes down Oriana 2-1. Oh, best of 3s. Okay. Best of 3s, not best of 2s. SCV takes down Ghost Runner 2-0. And then we had an unknown player that I'm not familiar with taking down Miggy 2-0. That's a big win for Skitty 2, for Super Kitty. Hold on. That's, Funying takes down Miggy 2-0. That's huge. That's a big upset there for Super Kitty 2. Meanwhile, we had Super Kitty 1 taking down EFG. I believe that's Silky. Is that Silky? He should be. Yeah. So Silky, he claims his win. We had, likewise, his two other teammates claim their wins as well. 6-0 in favor of Super Kitty 1. And that means we have Super Kitty 1 versus Super Kitty 2 in the quarterfinals. Lovely. God damn it. Scrolling down, we had a Toho Project. They take down Kauda 6-2. Jesus. They do take them down. It was Winter Zerg falling to his opponents in the first round. We had Daydreamer going 2-1 versus Ghost, and we had likewise the Toho Project player take down Turn 2-1 as well. GG all played. Toho Project does advance on. Then had Little Fairy versus Super Kitty 5. Little Fairy as one of the stronger teams out there. We had Ear winning 2-0. We had Duty Soldier winning 2-0, and then we had Sand Chovi. Sorry, we had Noguri falling to his opponents 1-2. But in the end, Team Little Fairy did come out on top. Congratulations, they do advance on into the next round. Then at Starlight Twinkle with a tied 4-4 scoreline. Wait, what? what happened here? Rewhite took down YKN 2-1. Young Zest took down Alka 2-1. And then we had a walkover win for SOH. But overall, that should still be the win for SLT. The 4-4, that's like map score. That's not like series score. Interesting. it's being portrayed in a really weird way here. Like technically, Protoss the Best won 4 maps, but they lost 2 series. So yeah, it's a really weird format that they have when it comes to the scores that are being shown in the bracket. That can probably be cleaned up, to be honest, but it's fine. So Starlight Twinkle, they do come out on top here, facing off against Super Kitty 3 in the next round, as there was a walkover win. A little bit unfortunate, would have been nice to have seen some more Super Kitty action, but Super Kitty 3, they get the walkover win over number 4. We then have PCEC going up against Hello I Am. They do claim the win. Millennium Fox, actually, he forfeited. He wasn't available in the first round. Ooh, that could have been a clean 6-0. We have Nanyu. He takes down his opponent 2-0. And then we have, I believe, is that Sarah Kerrigan over his opponent 2-0 as well. Yeah, Sarah Kerrigan. It's a big win there for PCEC. Then had Team Hist versus Astartes. We had... God, do I know this player? Goomin. Nope, no idea. But we had Astartes taking down his 5-4. Number 1, his initial series 2-1. We had Kingslayer falling to his opponent. That's an upset. Whoa, hold on. Kingslayer did not. Kingslayer losing to the Astartes player. Big win there for Astartes. And then we had Latte taking down ND 2-1 as well. GG well played. Astartes, they do claim their win just barely. And again, I feel like a lot of that was riding on Kingslayer. He's usually one of the favored players here, but no, he goes down in the best of 3. Crazy upset. Crazy upset. With that, we have our top 8 teams. We have Super Kitty 2 versus Super Kitty 1. We have Toho Project versus Little Fairy. We have Starlight Twinkle versus Super Kitty 3. And PCEC versus Astartes. In my mind, the top 2 teams are still Starlight Twinkle and Little Fairy. But we'll see if they face off later on in the tournament. We shall see. I mean, I would have said that Elpis was the other top team. But Elpis, they got knocked down early. True. Like, there was that upset. But GG well played. That leads us into our regional events, into other regional events as well. Oh, I forgot to mention this to you actually. Guess take up. But we will be discussing Amantis later, as we will be casting that, I'm sure.
Okay.
But up first, we have Hattrick Cup number 17. Shout out to Hatsu, of course. Hatsu has been bringing back Hattrick Cup after a long time. And Shameless takes down Roman the Mold 2-0, takes down Geralt 2-0, and faces off against Young Yakov in the finals. Yakov took down Nickrat, and we had our best of 5, Yakov versus Shameless. They often do go back and forth. They're both very close in skill. And in the end, we had Yakov over Shameless 3-2. Big win there for Young Yakov. Third place match was Geralt versus Nickrat. Nickrat also claiming the win, 2-0 over Geralt. Big win. So we have Young Yakov in first place, Shameless in second, Nickrat in third, and Geralt in fourth. GG well played. We might get our hands on those replays at some point as well. It depends on whether or not we are available. It's just a lot of StarCraft. There's a lot of StarCraft going on here. Up next, we had LiuLi Cup. LiuLi Cup number 48. Was this the first one of the year or the second? Let's quickly double check here. 47, I think was this year as well. No, okay. Yeah, the first one was 2026. For some reason in the info box it's in 2025, so we're gonna have to fix that. But But it's the first one of the year here in March. We had a best of 7 between Cyan and I believe that is Millennium Fox. Yep. So we had a best of 7 between Cyan and Millennium Fox. Cyan, he does claim the win 4-0. Strong showing here from Cyan. He still got it. He still got it. Despite the younger blood coming up and trying to bring him down. No, Cyan does claim the win. Strong showing here, 4-0. GG. GG, well played here to Cyan. That does claim the win. That leads us into Sunrise Cup. Sunrise Cup number 225. This is a regular weekly tournament for the Chinese region, for the Chinese scene. Coming into this event, we have Stray, we have Number, we have Ghost Runner, Daydreamer, we have Ear, Latte, Oriana, Smile. I don't see Millennium Fox. I don't see Nanyu. I don't see Lemon. I don't see Nanami Chiaki. I don't see a lot of our regulars. A lot of our regulars are not actually here. Okay, so in the absence of our regular top players, we do have... Oh, wait, actually, sorry. Nanyu did compete. Where was Nanyu? Oh, Nanyu went down to Stray. Oh, okay. Big win there for Stray. Very big win. So Stray takes down Nanyu in the round 16, 2-0, then falls to Number. Then we had Daydreamer taking down Number 2-1, and then we had the grand finals here between Daydreamer and Oriana. Oriana has been very inactive. Like, Oriana, he was one of like the up-and-coming players in like 2023. Like 2023, 2024, like it was all about Oriana. Like Oliver had done such a great job like inspiring the Chinese region, and Oriana was one of those players that name changed and was improving quite steadily. And Oriana eventually fell off, like eventually stopped competing, like slowed things down, took some time off, and became a very inactive player. Which is a little bit sad to see, just because Oriana had a lot of potential. But recently it started playing again. It's like within the last, I want to say maybe 3 months, like 3-ish months, 4 months, like we've seen a little bit more Oriana as of late. And congratulations to Oriana claiming the win here over Ear and Daydreamer. GG well played. I still want to say that Oriana's at a lower level than Oriana once was a couple of years ago, is kind of getting back up there. But typically when we have these other bigger names like Nanami Chiaki or Lemon or Rewhite or Young Zest or some of these other guys, like usually they're more favorite here. But in the absence of them, Oriana pops off. GG well played. I got a soft place in my heart for Oriana. Soft place. But GG well played. With that leads us into the OSC Elite Rising Star number 18. Day 3 did conclude. We, of course, did cover Day 3, and the tournament is slowly progressing here. Shameless takes down R 2-1 to advance on to the bracket finals. We had Inexorable taking down Moja 2-1. We had Ledlix taking down Creature as well. So we have Inexorable versus Ledlix. Jimmy took down Iba 2-0. We had some drama. The Jimmy Iba drama, it popped off, Pop. It was crazy. They were reminiscing about their time together as 2v2 partners, and it all kind of bubbled up to the surface between them, and it was beautiful. It's beautiful what happened between them. I highly recommend the VODs. If you missed it, I do recommend checking out Jimmy versus Iba. We did cover that here on the channel. Do recommend it. It was wild. It was wild, Bobby. Milky Heart takes on R2-0. We had Sebesta taking down Sebesta. Sorry, Rebellion taking down Sebesta 2-1. And GG Machine took down Shino 2-0 as well. As again, we're slowly progressing through the bracket. Lower bracket has also been progressing as well. Remember, this is a double elimination tournament, and this event typically takes around like 3 months to conclude. It's going to be a long time here, but there's just so many matches that take place, and every series is casted. So there's a lot of matches, a lot of StarCraft. As I mentioned coming into this, my favorite players here are Shameless. Shameless, he is the favorite player to win it. It's all about who can stop him. Can anyone bring him down? Best of luck to all the other players. Best of luck. Best of luck. As Young Yakov and Percival and Nick Racked all graduated. They all graduated out of OSC. Out of the Rising Star, I should say. Up next, we had OSC King of the Hill. King of the Hill number 240. This is the King of the Hill style format, where, of course, best of one, winner stays on, loser is eliminated. We had Pappy versus Geralt in the first round. Geralt takes down Pappy 1-0. Art takes down Geralt. Art takes down Rebellion, goes on a 2-game win streak before falling to Ledlix. Then GG Machine goes on a tear. Oh, okay. Initially, though, I want to say a big shout out to LiuLi for beating Art initially. That was a big upset. Then GG Machine takes on LiuLi, Celestis, Mindil VK, Mini Zerg, and Young Yakov. And he just kept going. Takes down Young Yakov and Percival. I would typically favor both Young Yakov and Percival over GG Machine. Those are some big wins, some big upsets there, but it's best of one, right? Best of one. You can cheese a player out, you can catch them out. If they make a mistake, it can all end then and there. So a big win streak there for GG Machine. It eventually does end at the hands of Shameless. Hey, there he is. Shameless, the favorite player from the previous events, but he does take down GG Machine, and then he falls to Bjorn. And Bjorn, he does clean house, taking down Shameless, Christiana, Nickrat, and Defiance. In the end, Bjorn does end the event as the King of the Hill. GG. GG, well played. GG Machine, he walks away with the most amount of wins. He walks away with around 6 wins under his belt. Bjorn walks away with 4 wins under his belt. But GG well played. Of course, we have Shameless alongside Geralt, Art, and LiuLi also walking away with some prize money. Bearing in mind that a win does give you some prize money. Every win. It does accumulate throughout the event. Congratulations to Bjorn for becoming the final King of the Hill. That leads us into our Open Cups, into our Open Tournaments. First, we have the Sparkling Tuning Cup, the STC number 122. And this is our weekly Open Tournament that we do host here on the CranKy Ducklings. And here we did have a plethora of players, very Korean heavy here and even European heavy as well. We had Skillus, we had Nikita, Shin, Bjorn, Nickrat, Honmono, Percival, GG Machine, Young Yakov, Shameless. We had all of our Christiana, Geralt, we had all of our regulars, of course, all coming together. We had a massive bracket as well. And coming into this, there were 2 favorite players. The top 2 seeds, Bjorn and Shin. Bjorn and Shin were the top 2 seeds, but there were players here that can threaten them. Players like Skillus, Young Yakov, Percival. And in the end, they did threaten. In the end, Percival had a crazy result here. I say crazy result. He has been getting these results more often as of late. He 2-0s Bjorn. And this is like the 3rd or 4th time he's beaten Bjorn in like the last 2 months. It's crazy. But Percival, he's been getting better and better and better at TVT, and has been getting these stronger results versus Bjorn. He has been getting these stronger results, so big win there for Percival. Takes down Bjorn 2-0. Massive win there, massive upsets. But these upsets are becoming more regular from the side of Percival. Meanwhile, Shin takes down Young Yakov 2-1 to advance them to the semifinals, where he takes down Skillus 2-0. I don't want to gloss over something though. GG Machine, he took down Shameless 2-1. That was a huge win, by the way. That was a huge upset, I would say. Shameless, he's one of the stronger players from the CIS region, so to see GG Machine bring him down was huge. Was short-lived. Skillus took the win, still went to the ace match. Shin took down Skillus, and then we had an intense back and forth. Percival, he almost 3-0'd Shin. Percival, he was up 2-0. He was up 2-0. 1 win away from becoming the Tunic Cup champion, but he barely wasn't able to pull it off. Shin had a crazy comeback on Taito, on White Rabbit, on Ruby Rock. Shin, every game in this best of 5, he was going 2-base layer. It was either like a 320 like Spire or Hydroden or Roach All-In. It was one of the 3 every game. He was rotating between 3 different builds, all off of an early layer, all off of a 320 layer timing. And Percival had a really hard time keeping up. It was just hyper aggression. At the very end, Percival, he blindly went for a Hellbat All-In, and Shin blindly went for Roaches. And it was so unlucky because Shin, he was rotating through those builds. If Shin had gone 2-base Hydra or 2-base Muta, he would have died. 100%. He would have died. Percival, he was trying to blind counter, and he gambled, but he gambled wrong because he gambled into Roach play instead. Shin shut him down with his Roaches and won the series. Won the series in that final game. GG, well played. Oh, I do recommend the VODs. I do recommend checking that out. But congratulations to Shin for barely clutching the win over Percival. That leads us into the Monday Night Weeklies, number 43. This is at a little bit more of a European-friendly time slots, but here we had our top players. We had Clem, Cure, Hero, Showtime, Max. For this event at Clem took down Cure 2-0 with his Preorders, took down Hero as well. Big win there for Clem, taking down Hero 2-1 to make it to the grand finals. Hero on his way there took down Showtime in the upper brackets, and who knocked Max out? Christiana. Showtime 2-0'd Max, and then Christiana took down Max in the lower bracket. Christiana. Crazy. The Christiana, papi. Christiana, he takes down Max and he takes down Cure. Yo, big wins for Christiana. And Showtime. Christiana, calm down. Calm down, papi. Christiana takes down Max, Cure, and Showtime. Insane results there from Christiana. He eventually forced the Hero in the lower bracket finals, but Christiana, he had a crazy performance this week. Very nice. Very nice performance. In the end, he goes down to Hero, and then Hero wins in the rematch. He takes down Clem 2-1, and then 2-0 in the Revival match. GG, well played. Hero is this week's Monday Night Weekly champion. GG, well played. That leads us into the WardiTV Monday. WardiTV Monday number 77. Here we had some similar players. We had Björn, we had Classic, we had Clem, we had Showtime, we had Hero. I don't see Max Packs though. At least not in the Wikipedia brackets. One moment. As sometimes we have some big results happening earlier. But yeah, Max Packs, he was nowhere to be found. Here we did have instead Björn. Björn, he takes down Classic 2-0. Big win there for Björn. Does end up falling to Clem. Clem makes it to the grand finals. Meanwhile, this time Showtime gets his revenge. If you remember, Hero 2-0 Showtime in the Monday Night Weekly. But here, Showtime takes down Hero 2-1. Does face off against Clem in the finals. And Clem is going to be the WardiTV Monday champion. 3-1 over Showtime. GG. GG, well played. Congratulations. Clem does claim the win here. This was, I believe, the day after Monday Night Weekly. I believe this week specifically, the WardiTV Monday was on Tuesday. What? Lovely. But I believe they did end up changing days. Meanwhile, we then had the Pegasus Cup, the final weekly here of the week. Pegasus Cup was at a more NA-friendly time slot. If you recall, this was the day of GSL CK, so we were not able to cast it. We were focusing on GSL. In the end, Hero takes on Reynor, takes down Percival 3-0, and goes up against Björn in the finals. Björn, strong showing. 3-2's cure, very intense back and forth TVT in the semifinals, and Björn takes down Hero. Big win there for Björn. 3-2 went all the way to the ace match, but Björn claims the win over Hero again, as he was able to pull that off previously in the group stage of I'm thinking of Cure. Yeah, Björn versus Hero. I think that was in RSL if I recall correctly. No, sorry, it was LiuLi Cup. Let's see. Yes, Björn beat Hero in LiuLi Cup, and who beat Hero in RSL? Oh, no one. Yeah, Hero, he did well in RSL. So it was LiuLi Cup where Björn had beaten Hero, and he does so again here in Pegasus Cup as well. GG. GG, well played. Congratulations. Björn does claim the win over Hero to be this week's Pegasus Cup champion. Well played. Well played. Oh, but again, those were our weekly Open Cups. Tuna Cup, Monday Night Weekly, WardiTV Monday, and Pegasus Cup are 4 regular events. And we did have a nice spread of players becoming our champions here. We had Shin. It's a rare sight to see a Zerg champion. Shin getting a win, Clem, Hero, and Björn. GG. And with that, if you want to take part in any of these tournaments, you can do so via the sign-up list, !sign-up list in the chat. As you can see here, we have the Greenert Mod Jam Open coming up in a day. We have MSO, we have the StarCraft Evolution League, we have the Thermal 2v2 Bonus Cup, you have the Patches Patch Clash, STC, Legacy Week Japan, and plenty of other tournaments. Again, plenty of events here over the next couple of days. Do check it out over on the sign-up list. Sure, a lot of these events have pro players, but you yourself can sign up as well. As long as there's no restrictions, you can take part in these tournaments alongside everyone else. If you want to take part, sign-up list is available. Otherwise, you can also check us out via Patreon. You can support us here on the CranKy Ducklings. Patreon is the place to be. The Patreon does fund our tournaments on a regular basis. It funds the Tuna Cup, it funds the Duckling Open, and the Masterclass Open as well. It is all funded via Patreon, and you can help us grow those tournaments via Patreon as well. So do check us out there. Otherwise, we're wrapping up. A bit of a longer podcast this week. A little bit longer here, as there was just a lot to discuss in the beginning when it comes to the StarCraft Miniatures game. There was a lot to discuss. 2.5 hours this week, but there was a lot to catch up on, and we have caught up. When it comes to next week's podcast, we'll be able to catch up on some StarCraft Evolution results, on Code for Giants Cup, on Amanthus, on some of these other events that we otherwise missed out on. We should be casting over the next couple of days. Then we can discuss on the podcast. Oh boy. But otherwise, thanks for watching. Thank you so much for tuning in. Again, if you missed out on some of the previous discussions, we did spend a lot of time discussing the StarCraft Miniatures game, so do check out that conversation we had earlier, of course. Otherwise, thank you so much for watching. Thank you so much for tuning in. Shout out to Kura for handling the production side of things. And our next broadcast is going to be tomorrow, of course, is going to be StarCraft Evolution number 19. StarCraft Evolution League number 19. That is going to be in around 12 hours time. We're jumping back into SC Evo. We're jumping back in. Otherwise, we also have Code for Giants Cup over the weekend. We have MSO. We have the Thermal 2v2 Circuit. True, also over the weekend as well. Plenty of content, plenty of StarCraft. We'll see you there. We'll see you there. Otherwise, thanks for watching. You can follow us on, of course, YouTube and all the other socials, and we'll see you next time. Ciao, papi, ciao. See you next time. Hasta luego.